Chapter 36. Hero, you must be joking. We're just a few people with the same goal. There's no need for us to die for each other. Besides, this is One-Eye's fault. He shouldn't have dragged us into this. Third Master hastily said, "Third Master, you can't do this." The one-eyed man's face turned deathly pale. If he was left behind, he would definitely die. He didn't even need to think about it. Shut up. If not for you, so many of our brothers wouldn't have died. It has been so many years, and we're all safe and sound. It's all because you've offended this hero. That's why 4 of our brothers are dead. 4 of them. Third Master furiously roared. All right, stop arguing. Today, none of you will leave this place alive. Ling Xiao's character had always been decisive in killing. He wouldn't allow these men to go back and report back. What if there was some mighty warrior behind these men? Wouldn't he be looking for trouble for himself? I've given you a chance before, but you didn't cherish it. Now you want to run away? Are you dreaming? Third Master was startled. After that, his expression became ferocious. Brat, we're no match for you. But if you fight with your life on the line, you won't have a good ending. Also, listen to me. Our boss is a divine core warrior. If you kill us, our boss won't let you go. If I kill all of you, who will know it's me? Ling Xiao said with an indifferent tone, Idiot, you shouldn't have threatened me. If you ran away with your own abilities, I might have really let you live. But since I've said it like this, do you really think I'll let you go? Kill. While speaking, Ling Xiao's body trembled. In the void, the 6 swords condensed into a 6-colored sword light and blasted out. Another man was killed. The number of warriors in the sworn society had increased to 7. Right now, in these men's eyes, Ling Xiao was no longer a little rabbit that anyone could kill. He had become a terrifying devil. They couldn't understand why this warrior, who was only a 6th-level divine vein warrior, had such frightening combat strength. There were 3 martial artists at the 9th level of the divine vein realm in their group. Why were they being played like fools? Monster! San Yi cried out in alarm and turned around to flee. What brotherhood! What camaraderie! He didn't care at all. The rest of the people didn't have the slightest intention to fight. It was impossible for them to win against such a monster. But how could Ling Xiao let them off? The terrifying white light instantly passed through the remaining 7 people. Those 7 people all fell to the ground. 5 were dead and only 2 were left. One was the Third Master, and the other was the one-eyed man. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Just now, you refused to agree to my request. Now, aren't you going to give me everything I want? Ling Xiao sneered disdainfully, then looked at the one-eyed man and said, Do you know why I kept you alive? This lowly one deserves to die. This lowly one deserves to die. This lowly one shouldn't have found someone to deal with you. At this moment, One-Eyed was completely terrified. How could he have imagined that the person he thought was easy to deal with was such a terrifying existence? You do deserve to die, but before you die, I should let you suffer a little. Ling Xiao didn't say anything and directly cut off One-Eyed's tongue. Remember this when you go to hell. Some words can't be said carelessly. Some people can't be offended. Then he pierced One-Eyed's throat with his sword. At that moment, One-Eyed even felt that he was free. Otherwise, the sharp pain in his mouth was enough to drive him crazy. It's your turn. Ling Xiao looked at the Third Master and sneered. Don't kill me. I'll give you anything you want. The Third Master shouted in horror. What can you give me? After all, I can get whatever you have by killing you. There's no need for you to give me anything at all. Ling Xiao said indifferently. I can tell you a secret. The Third Master suddenly said. Oh, what secret? Ling Xiao asked. You should know that there are many outer space relics in the bloody battlefield. One of them is called the Ghost Demon Palace. Only divine pulse realm martial artists can enter. But I heard that if you're lucky, you can find some extremely precious treasures. Some can improve your cultivation, and some can improve the strength of your body. There are also some that can help you break through to the divine core realm. For example, the violet sun pill. Third Master hurriedly explained, as if he was afraid that he would be killed by Ling Xiao if he was too slow. Violet sun pill. Ling Xiao obviously knew about the violet sun pill, because he had a violet sun pill with him. But later on, he heard from a Yuan venerable that one violet sun pill wasn't enough to guarantee his breakthrough to the divine core realm. He needed at least 10 pills. With that, the chance of increasing his breakthrough would reach 70%. If he could concoct the violet sun fortune pill, the chance of increasing his breakthrough would reach 90%. This meant that there wouldn't be any problems. This thing was really quite attractive to Ling Xiao. This ghost demon palace, where is it? Ling Xiao asked. If I tell you, will you spare my life? Third Master asked with a trembling voice. Don't worry. As long as you tell me the truth, I'll spare your life. Ling Xiao said with a smile on his face. You have to keep your promise. That ghost devil palace, after another 10 miles, they would almost reach it. The ghost devil palace was occupied by 10 divine core warriors. They can't enter, so they'll send in divine vein warriors. You have to hand in 70% of the treasures you take out, and keep the rest for yourself. Third Master replied, Our boss is one of the 10 divine core warriors. That sounds interesting. Ling Xiao had heard about this place before he came to the bloody battlefield. Apart from the slaughter, there were also many ruins from beyond the heavens. There were many good things hidden in these ruins. Since he had found one, there was no way he would miss it. Let's go. He suddenly lifted Third Master up and sneered, Bring me to the ghost demon palace. If I find out that you're lying, I'll tear you apart alive. You said you'll let me go. Third Master was completely dumbfounded. His words were a mixture of truth and falsehood. There was indeed a ghost demon palace, but it wasn't in the direction he mentioned. The place he mentioned was a forest filled with demon beasts. Once he went in, it would be hard for him to leave. He was planning to trick Ling Xiao, but who knew that Ling Xiao would be so cunning? He actually wanted him to lead the way. Looks like you're not telling the truth. Ling Xiao sneered. I'll tell you now. Third Master's expression changed. There's no need for that. Since you don't want to tell the truth, I'll send you to hell. Ling Xiao looked at Third Master. Then he pointed his finger forward. Blood sprayed out from Third Master's throat. Soul assimilation. Right after he killed Third Master, Ling Xiao used the soul assimilation skill. From Third Master's mind, he was able to gather all the information he wanted. Most of what Third Master said is true. Looks like I have to make a trip to the Ghost Demon Palace. I can't miss this chance to improve my strength. Chapter 36-37. The Ghost Demon Palace was an iron tower that floated in midair. The tower wasn't tall, but it was covered with strange lightning. It gave people an extremely strange feeling. The entrance was a bright red portal, and it looked like a bloodthirsty demon beast that was ready to devour any warrior that stepped into it. A mansion was built underneath the Ghost Demon Palace. It was built with stones from the bloody battlefield. It was obvious that this mansion had been built for a long time. Many divine vein realm warriors from all over the world had gathered here. It was obvious that they were all here for the Ghost Devil Palace. Ling Xiao was here as well. He had learned about the Ghost Demon Palace from Lord San. So how could he miss this opportunity? Through the Tai Chi eye, he found out that there was a strange black aura surrounding the Ghost Demon Palace. This aura was extremely frightening, but even so, it couldn't stop the people's desire. Everyone knew there were good things in the Ghost Demon Palace. Everyone wanted to get some. The Ghost Demon Palace only opened once every 5 years, and every 5 years, 10 first-level divine core warriors would gather here. They would recruit divine Vane warriors to explore the secret. But the troublesome thing was, only 10 people could enter the ghost demon palace at a time. Therefore, when more and more people arrived, a selection would be held. Everyone in the bloody battlefield knew about this, and it was called the Ghost Demon Palace Selection. It was an opportunity that only came once every 5 years, and those who knew about it wouldn't want to miss it. Ling Xiao had registered as well. He knew that the Ghost Demon Palace's selection was a 10-match system. It meant that all divine Vane warriors who came here wanted to enter the Ghost Demon Palace. Everyone would have to fight 10 matches, and the top 10 would be decided by the number of matches won. The winners would fight against the winners, and the losers would fight against the losers. Besides that, there was a special rule. Whoever could win 5 matches in a row would be able to advance to the next round and become a member of the Ghost Demon Palace. Ling Xiao looked around. Although there were a lot of people who came here to watch the fun, there were still a lot of people. But there were only about 100 people who registered. Actually, there weren't that many people, because the winners would fight against the winners. The opponents they would meet would be stronger and stronger. It was extremely difficult to win 5 matches in a row. About an hour later, 10 divine core warriors appeared. Ling Xiao didn't know either. That was the boss of the Sworn Brotherhood, but he didn't care. In any case, those 12 people had all been killed by him. This boss wouldn't know what happened over there either. Outside the house, there was an open space. They had already marked out an empty space. It was about 500 to 600 square meters. Let's cut the crap. The Ghost Devil Palace election that happens once every 5 years will now begin. One of the divine core warriors said with a loud voice. As his voice rang out, the scene suddenly became quiet. The contestants began to draw their own numbers. After Ling Xiao drew his lot, he stood among the 100 contestants. He waited for the competition to begin. Brother, you don't look familiar. My name is Chun Qian. How should I address you? Perhaps because they were standing close to each other, one of the people beside him greeted Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao didn't reject people from 1,000 miles away. Although the bloody battlefield was filled with killing, sometimes making some friends would be a great help to him. Indeed, you're a stranger. You must be new here. This is my 2nd time participating in the selection. Chun Qian was obviously very familiar with everyone. Whenever he saw someone, he wouldn't stop talking. Did you know? In this selection, there are a few people we need to pay special attention to, especially He Yu and Feng Xiaoming. These 2 people should be the strongest among the 100 of us. You need to be careful. Ling Xiao looked at He Yu and Feng Xiaoming, who Chun Qian was talking about. That He Yu actually had a pair of black wings. He didn't look like a human. He looked more like the legendary feather race. Through the Tai Chi eye, Chun Qian could tell his cultivation level. A 9th level divine Vane warrior was indeed very powerful. As for Feng Xiaoming, she was also a 9th level divine Vane warrior, a proper human. She also looked lively. One shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Thank you for your reminder, Brother Qin. Ling Xiao thanked him. It's my pleasure. Chun Qian smiled. No matter what purpose this person had, these words were ultimately helpful to Ling Xiao. At the very least, Chun Qian could accurately grasp the expert's information. Right then, the selection had already begun. In the 10th match that He Yu appeared, just as Chun Qian said, this He Yu's strength really couldn't be underestimated. He could cast a strange force field. Black Wind Domain. At the same time he released this force field, a strange black wind blew around his body. The fierce wind formed a tornado. His opponent didn't have any resistance at all. In the black storm, even breathing was very difficult. In the end, he vomited blood and died. This was a bloody battlefield. There was no sympathy or pity. Killing was simply a common occurrence. No one would say that he didn't do well. Too strong. Indeed worthy of being He Yu. Seeing He Yu's performance, Everyone could not help revealing a horrified expression. Not to mention the contestants. Even those onlookers didn't understand how Heiyu won. In fact, that black storm didn't meet the opponent at all. What a powerful battle intent to actually suffocate the opponent to death. This guy is definitely a very terrifying opponent. Ling Zhao's Tai Chi I naturally saw through Heiyu's attack, using precisely the battle intent oppression, defeating the enemy in one move. This Heiyu could make many people show fear. But Chen Qian didn't seem to mind. This guy was very interesting. Ling Xiao attempted to use Tai Chi Eye to look at Chen Qian, but discovered that Chen Qian should have some magic treasure on him, isolating his cultivation, causing the Tai Chi Eye to be unable to see through. This made him even more concerned. Hence, when Chen Qian appeared, Chen Qian paid special attention. One could basically determine that Chen Qian's strength was estimated to be on par with Heiyu. In terms of experience, he was probably even stronger. This was an old fox. Ling Xiao reminded himself to be more careful. Previously, he encountered Chen Ming, who was a rookie killer. Now he encountered Chen Qian again. Although there were many people with the same surname, Ling Xiao was still willing to believe that these two guys were related, because they indeed looked somewhat similar. Not long after Chen Qian made his move, it was that Feng Xiaoming's turn. Feng Xiaoming's opponent was a 9th-level Divine Vein realm martial artist. Hence, it wasn't that easy to deal with. But Feng Xiaoming still relied on terrifying speed and movement technique to finish off her opponent within 10 moves. She possessed the wind martial soul and seemed to focus on movement technique, cultivation. Her attack was a little weaker, but her speed was astonishingly fast. Ling Xiao versus Zhang Beiyan. Suddenly, a voice sounded from the rostrum. That person called Zhang Beiyan executed an exquisite movement technique and arrived at the center of the battle zone in an instant, while Ling Xiao walked over slowly. Hence, Zhang Beiyan received cheers from the audience. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, was despised, but he didn't care. What he wanted wasn't those people's praise, but victory. Chapter 3638. Zhang Beiyan's cultivation had reached the 9th level of the Divine Vein realm. In the eyes of others, Ling Xiao, who was at the 6th level of the Divine Vein realm, was extremely unlucky to have encountered Zhang Beiyan. Among the 100 people who survived this time, 1/3 of them were at the 9th level of the Divine Vein realm. 1/3 of them were at the 8th level of the Divine Vein realm. 1/3 of them were at the 7th level of the Divine Vein realm. Ling Xiao's cultivation was the lowest among all of them. He still had some hope if he encountered a martial artist at the 7th level of the Divine Vein realm. But now there was no hope at all. Ling Xiao stood in the battle area. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and his eyes shone with a sharp light. There was a faint smile on his face. "Brat, why are you smiling? Are you scared silly?" Zhang Beiyan frowned. This idiot called Ling Xiao in front of him dared to fight with him with such a low cultivation. He was simply courting death. Ling Xiao didn't bother to talk nonsense. He raised his right hand and his body trembled. He suddenly pointed out with his finger. Since they didn't have any blood feud, he naturally wouldn't kill him. But it was still possible to strike him out of the battle area. In an instant, sword intent soared to the sky. Sword chi crisscrossed. That small fingertip seemed to contain a terrifying power that could tear space apart. Oh no! At that moment, Zhang Beiyan felt that even breathing became difficult. His opponent's sword intent was simply terrifying to the extreme. It was like a violent storm. He quickly turned serious from his previous carelessness. However, the Ling Xiao in his eyes suddenly changed. He was wearing a ferocious armor, cold and powerful. The moment after the transformation, Ling Xiao's speed became even faster. He simply became a ray of white light. Damn it! First level Emperor martial technique. 9-fold demonic slash. Zhang Beiyan wouldn't admit defeat so easily. He hurriedly circulated all the vital essence in his body and took out a weapon. He slashed out crazily. 9 domineering saber chi slashed the air until it was distorted. A few cracks appeared on the ground. This was the same martial skill, but in the hands of different people, the power was indeed different. Crack! However, such a powerful blade chi was still utterly defeated by Ling Zhao's sharp sword chi. Divine light splitting the sky, demon shadow soaring into the heavens. When facing a martial artist at the 9th level of the divine vein realm, Ling Xiao immediately used the 3rd form of the 9 revolutions God-fiend art. He strived to defeat the enemy in one move. After a terrifying loud sound, Zhang Beiyun's body flew dozens of meters away. I admit defeat. Hearing Zhang Beiyun admit defeat, Ling Xiao did not pursue. In any case, it was not a battle of life and death, so there was no need to kill. I remember now. This guy is Ling Xiao, the guy who has been in the limelight recently. That's right, that's right. I seem to have heard of it as well. That fellow entered the bloody battlefield with a cultivation at the 5th level of the divine vein realm. Yet, he has never been defeated. He has won hundreds of battles, big and small. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people went to find trouble with him, but they were all killed by him. I didn't expect this guy to be so strong. He actually defeated a 9th level divine vein realm martial artist in one move. It's not strange. Zhang Beiyun thought that he was at the 6th level of the divine vein realm, so she underestimated him. It would be strange if she didn't lose. In the eyes of most people, Ling Xiao was able to defeat Zhang Beiyun so easily because of luck. It was because Zhang Beiyun underestimated him. They even thought of Ling Xiao's previous battles. He must have pretended to be weak to make others underestimate him so that he could win more easily. Ling Xiao was indifferent to such discussions. As long as he could enter the list of the final 10, he couldn't be bothered with what others said. The first round ended quickly. The second round began. According to the rules, the winner would fight against the winner for a total of 10 rounds. If one won 5 rounds in a row, they would advance to the list of the final 10. In fact, according to past experience, there were very few people who could win 5 rounds in a row. Only 1 or 2 of the best could do it. This was also dependent on luck. After all, the further one progressed, the stronger the opponent would be. None of those who could win consecutively were weak. In the second round, He Yu and Feng Xiaoming defeated their opponents in one move. He had displayed great strength and dominance. Ling Xiao wanted to test out more attacks, so he spent a little more time. But he still defeated his opponent in the end. Chun Qian, that guy, could clearly defeat his opponent in one move, but he fought very strenuously. Others couldn't tell, but it couldn't fool Ling Xiao's Tai Chi eye. This guy was definitely a scheming person. He had to be careful. Looks like it shouldn't be wrong. He Yu and Feng Xiaoming, these 2 people, are probably the strongest among everyone. That's right. Most likely, even a 9th level divine vein realm martial artist can't last more than 3 moves in front of them. That Ling Xiao isn't bad either. Although he used a little more moves, he basically won without any injuries. He should be considered a stronger competitor. Everyone discussed animatedly. In their view, He Yu and Feng Xiaoming belonged to the same class. Ling Xiao belonged to the 2nd class. No matter what, his strength was pretty strong. Among them, He Yu and Feng Xiaoming also defeated 9th level divine vein realm martial artists in one move. Because of this, Ling Xiao's performance in the beginning wasn't that amazing anymore. Those 2, I don't think they're half-step divine core warriors. Someone started guessing. There was a transition period between the divine vein realm and the divine core realm, and this transition period was the half-step divine core realm, forming a water core. Their strength was approaching the divine core realm, surpassing the divine vein realm. This was because He Yu and Feng Xiaoming's performance was too eye-catching. That was why the crowd had such guesses. Many people were scared of He Yu and Feng Xiaoming, especially He Yu. The two men who fought him were both killed. This man was cruel and merciless. No one wanted to fight him again. Not long after that, the second round of the competition ended. There were less than 20 people left who could maintain their winning streaks. After a short break, the third round began. In this round, Ling Xiao was a very troublesome opponent. It wasn't He Yu, Feng Xiaoming, or Qin Qian. It was a kid who looked like he was only 13 years old. But this little brat had won the previous 2 rounds. When facing Ling Xiao, the kid was very cocky. As for the audience, they were looking forward to the fight as well. They were looking forward to the exciting fight between the kid and Ling Xiao. But to their disappointment, the fight ended quickly. Yin-Yang Cosmic Tiger Beast Soul Transformation. Ling Xiao circulated his true yuan and quickly entered the transformation state. He even took out the black flame devil sword. In that instant, his entire being became extremely oppressive. The crowd couldn't help but take him seriously. This guy's beast soul transformation is not something to be trifled with. The audience furrowed their brows. Once the ordinary Ling Xiao transformed into a beast spirit, his battle prowess would skyrocket. This was why a beast soul warrior was so frightening. Before the crowd could recover from their shock, Ling Xiao unleashed his innate fiend god sword soul. A beast warrior and a combat warrior? And an innate sword soul. No wonder this guy is so strong. The crowd was even more surprised. Only one man had a gloomy expression on his face. That man was Qin Qian. When Qin Qian saw the black flame devil sword, he immediately understood. As expected, it was this Ling Xiao who killed his cousin. Chapter 30, 639. When Qin Qian knew that his cousin Qinming had suddenly died, he suspected Ling Xiao from the start, but he did not have any evidence. That was why he approached Ling Xiao and wanted to figure it out. But now he could confirm that it was definitely Ling Xiao who did it. That black flame demon sword was a gift he gave to his cousin. Just as Qin Qian was furious, there was a sudden change on the stage. Ling Xiao held the black flame demon sword, and the power of the 9-turn demon technique increased greatly. He used the body of cosmic light and instantly appeared in front of Little Wimp. And then 3 consecutive moves. They were Descent of the Demon God, First Appearance of Divine Light, Demonic Shadow Attack, and 7 swords as one. He completely suppressed Little Wimp, and Little Wimp did not have any room to retaliate. In the first move, Little Wimp's attack was broken. In the second move, Little Wimp's defense was broken. In the third move, Little Wimp was sent flying, spitting out blood. I lost. I did not expect Brother to be so powerful. But don't be too proud, this is not a life and death battle. So I did not use my trump card. Little Wimp was very depressed. He was confident that if he attacked with all his strength, he would definitely be able to defeat Ling Xiao. However, this was only the selection competition. All he needed to do was to enter the top 10. There was no need to risk his life. So he did not think that he had truly lost to Ling Xiao. You are wrong, no matter what trump card you have. My attack will not let you have the chance to use it. Ling Xiao looked at Little Wimp coldly. Such a young child. It was not a problem for him to be a little arrogant, but he could not see how terrifying his opponent was. If he could not see his own weakness, and only thought that he had not lost, that would be too stupid. The third round of the competition ended quickly. At this time, there were only 10 people left with consecutive victories. He Yu, Feng Xiaoming, Ling Xiao, and Qin Qian. Everyone else had already suffered defeats. After the fourth round, there were only 4 people left with consecutive victories. It was He Yu, Feng Xiaoming, Ling Xiao, and Qin Qian. The others could not maintain their winning streaks. In the 5th round, if I win, I can directly enter the list of 10. But next, I will have to face He Yu, Feng Xiaoming, and Qin Qian. None of them were easy to deal with. If you really can't do it, you might as well just admit defeat. Anyway, there's no need to fight for 5 consecutive victories. Ling Xiao didn't want to expose all of his trump cards. After all, the battle after entering the Ghost Devil Palace was the key. Now he just had to make sure that he could enter the top 10. The fifth round of the competition attracted everyone's attention. After all, in this round, the martial artist with 5 consecutive victories could directly enter the Ghost Devil Hall. This was because no one knew who their opponent was before the battle began. They were all randomly matched by the judges. Of course, there were only 4 people who maintained a winning streak. Therefore, Ling Xiao's opponent was definitely one of the other 3. At the start of the competition, the losers were the first to fight. Zhang Beiyun and Little Wimp both won smoothly. Although the 2 of them had lost to Ling Xiao, it was undeniable that their strength was still a notch higher than the rest of the people. After the losers' duel, finally, it was time for the most anticipated battle between the winners. The first match was between He Yu and Qin Qian. Ling Xiao knew that his opponent was the girl called Feng Xiaoming. Previously, he didn't pay much attention to this girl's appearance. Now that he took a closer look, she gave off the feeling of a little girl next door. Lively, cute, and positive. She was also beautiful. Although she wasn't the top if there were 10 points, she could definitely get 7 points. I admit defeat. On the stage, Qin Qian actually chose to admit defeat. This made Ling Xiao a little confused. But after thinking about it carefully, he understood. Qin Qian probably thought the same as him, that there was no need to waste energy here. Dealing with 100 trash was much easier than dealing with an expert like He Yu, and he didn't need to use his trump card. Although this didn't cause any loss to Qin Qian, but to the audience, it was a little unpleasant. They were looking forward to the battle between Qin Qian and He Yu, but there was no other way. This selection competition allowed one to admit defeat. They only hoped that in the battle between Ling Xiao and Feng Xiaoming, no one would admit defeat. Everyone looked towards the battle area. There stood Ling Xiao and Feng Xiaoming. I admit defeat. Ling Xiao straightforwardly chose to admit defeat. He turned around and walked down from the stage. This Feng Xiaoming, she had indeed broken through to the half-step divine core realm. It would be difficult to defeat her. Ling Xiao would have to use the ability of the martial soul of Tyrant. For him, this wasn't a suitable ability. Besides, even if he won 5 matches in a row, he wouldn't get any rewards. So what was the point of working himself to death? Therefore, admitting defeat was the best choice. Witnessing this scene, everyone was stunned. Damn it, the 2 matches that they were looking forward to the most, both ended with one of them admitting defeat? Many people were scolding Ling Xiao for throwing the match. But Ling Xiao was too lazy to care. After he admitted defeat, the competition for 5 matches in a row had finally been decided. He Yu and Feng Xiaoming had successfully advanced to the next round. In the following matches, the remaining 5 spots would be decided by the results of the matches. Why 5? Why not 8? Ling Xiao had just learned that a divine core warrior had recommended 3 seeded contestants, and they would be able to enter the Ghost Devil Palace directly. These 3 seeded contestants were all at the half-step divine core realm. Therefore, no one had any objections. 3 seeded contestants, and 2 with 5 matches in a row, that was 5 spots. Therefore, there were only 5 spots left. However, neither Ling Xiao nor Qin Qian were worried. Both of them had only lost 1 match, and that was better than the others. As long as they won all the following matches, they would definitely be able to enter the next round. In fact, the following matches were the same. Qin Qian and Ling Xiao both felt it was too troublesome, and they changed their fighting style. They defeated all their opponents with a single strike. Ling Xiao didn't want to be troublesome, but it seemed like Qin Qian wanted to vent his anger because of the hatred in his heart. As a result, his opponents were unlucky. They were either severely injured or killed. Looks like these 2 guys aren't any weaker than He Yu and Feng Xiaoming. Looks like they admitted defeat because they don't want to expose their true strength. Feng Xiaoming, looked at Ling Xiao. Although this guy had admitted defeat, she didn't feel happy about it. It was as if her 5 matches in a row were all thanks to Ling Xiao. But regardless of whether she felt happy or not, the selection had ended. In the end, besides the 3 seeded contestants, the remaining 7 men were He Yu, Feng Xiaoming, Ling Xiao, Chun Qian, Zhang Beiyun, Little Wimp, and a man called Lu Haoran. Obviously, amongst the 7 men, Lu Haoran was the weakest. However, he was still a 9th-level divine vein warrior. Amongst all the contestants, Ling Xiao's cultivation was the weakest. As for the 3 seeded contestants, they were Feng Ying, Lei Ying, and Huang. These 3 men were all ninja warriors. Back in the Heavenly Dragon Continent, there were many conflicts between Ling Xiao and the ninja race. But those opponents weren't as strong as these 3 men. These 3 men were all half-step divine core warriors, and they were very close to the divine core realm. They possessed wind, thunder, and fire martial souls. Chapter 3640. The 3 seeded contestants were all ninja warriors. Since he was chosen by the 10 divine core warriors, he was naturally someone who had high hopes for. All 3 of them were at the half-step divine core realm, but they were also divided into strong and weak. Lei Ying was the strongest. Amongst the half-step divine core warriors, he had formed 90% of his water core. Huang Ying was the 2nd strongest. Feng Ying was the weakest. But even so, they were still half-step divine core warriors. Aside from He Yu and Feng Xiaoming, the rest of the contestants might not be their match. On the same day, the 10 selected elite divine vein warriors circulated their true yuan and leapt up into the air. They arrived at the entrance of the Ghost Demon Palace. Although it was impossible for divine vein warriors to fly, with their strength, leaping up a dozen or even 20 meters into the air wasn't difficult for them. Near the portal, there was a platform that could fit all 10 of them, not even one more. Ling Xiao stood on the platform, and he could sense an ancient and vigorous aura coming from the portal. It made him feel that this Ghost Demon Palace was not an ordinary place. Among the crowd, Chun Qian threw a cold glance at Ling Xiao, but he quickly retracted the ferocious look in his eyes. He was sure that Ling Xiao was the one who killed his cousin. Therefore, in this trip to the Ghost Demon Palace, there was no way he would let Ling Xiao go. When he was outside, he was worried that he would be stopped by the few divine core warriors. But once he entered the Ghost Demon Palace, he could do whatever he wanted. Swoosh! Swoosh! After the group stepped onto the platform, they started walking towards the red portal. They turned into afterimages, as if they wanted to be the first to enter. Of course, Ling Xiao wouldn't be slow either. In the next moment, 10 men appeared in a completely enclosed space at the same time. The space was dark and gloomy. There was only a long bridge of light in front of them, leading to a bright future. The bridge of light was only 1 meter wide, and it was extremely narrow. Under the bridge of light, it was like a bottomless abyss, and they could hear the strange howling of the wind. No one doubted that if they fell down, they would fall to their deaths. In this environment, even warriors would feel nervous, even though divine vein warriors could adapt to the darkness. However, the view was definitely not as good as it was during the day. However, Ling Xiao, who possessed the Tai Chi eye, naturally did not care about this. With the increase in his cultivation, his Tai Chi eye had regained its former miraculousness. To him, this gloomy environment was no different from the outside world. Standing at the head of the bridge, no one dared to act rashly. This was because no one knew what this bridge of light meant, nor did they know what dangers existed within the black abyss. From time to time, they could only see strange black winds blowing out of the abyss. Someone released a puppet bird. In an instant, it was completely corroded by the black wind. Some people tried to let their pets cross the bridge. They were certain that the bridge was real. It was not empty. Furthermore, it was extremely sturdy. Even with the strength of a one-star demonic beast at the 7th level of the Divine Vein realm, it wasn't able to damage the bridge at all. Even so, everyone was still a little hesitant. After all, no one knew what would happen after passing through the abyss. They were waiting for the demonic beasts to safely cross the bridge. However, what shocked them was that when the demonic beast was halfway there, it was suddenly blown away by a gust of black wind. His body was smashed into pieces. Everyone became even more worried. That frightening black wind, besides a few half-step divine core warriors, anyone who touched it would instantly be turned into nothingness. They had to avoid the black wind. The black wind seemed to be blowing towards the bridge of light in a certain pattern. As long as they could control it, nothing would happen. Suddenly, Ling Xiao was the first one to dash out. He had a bad feeling about this. It wasn't safe to stay here any longer. Besides, his Tai Chi eye had already captured the pattern of the black wind. There was nothing to be afraid of. The crowd saw Ling Xiao dash out. They were still laughing in their minds. "Impatient kid, you're courting death." Feng Ying sneered. However, in the next moment, his laughter stopped abruptly. Suddenly, heavy footsteps could be heard coming from the pitch-black space behind them. Dong! Dong! The sound of these footsteps fiercely smashed into everyone's hearts, causing them to tremble inwardly. From the darkness behind them, a frightening aura was pressing towards them. "What is that?" Someone cried out in shock and quickly turned around. Too bad, their vision was limited, and they couldn't see anything clearly. They could only vaguely see a huge black shadow. "Let's go!" Feng Xiaoming and a few others didn't hesitate any longer. They followed Ling Xiao and dashed out. But there were still some people who were hesitating. Because of this moment of hesitation, the frightening footsteps approached. The aura was getting more and more frightening, and it was causing everyone to feel suffocated. A divine core warrior? Hey, you furrowed his brows and said, "Dong! Dong!" The heavy footsteps finally walked out from the darkness and into everyone's vision. It was a huge monster that was over 10 meters tall. Its entire body was made of rocks. Moss was even growing all over its body. If it wasn't for its glowing red eyes, it would have been mistaken for a rock mountain. The huge rock monster was holding a big tree in its hand, and it was using the tree as a stick. The tree was glowing with a red light. It was a murderous aura. Hell rock monster. Someone shouted out in shock. A divine core hell rock monster. Run. Right now, no one was hesitating anymore. If they walked onto the bridge of light, they might still have a chance to survive. But if the hell rock monster caught up to them, they would definitely die. Even a half-step divine core warrior would be unable to withstand a single blow from a true divine core warrior. Everyone knew that they couldn't let this monster catch up to them. Wait a second, that monster is so huge, and the bridge of light is so narrow, there's no way it can catch up to us. Suddenly, someone shouted out. It was Little Wimp. This guy was a little kid, but he was very smart. He had noticed something that no one else had noticed. Hearing what he said, apart from Ling Xiao, everyone else stopped. Feng Xiaoming hesitated for a moment, but she still decided to chase after them. After the previous election, she had a feeling that Ling Xiao was not an ordinary person. It would be better to follow Ling Xiao. The Hell Rock monster's speed wasn't fast. Even an 8th level Divine Vein Warrior would be able to reach such speed. Therefore, although Ling Xiao was moving forward, his speed wasn't fast. He was just maintaining a constant speed, making sure that the monster wouldn't catch up to him. Feng Xiaoming quickly caught up to him. She asked curiously, "Brother Ling, what Little Wimp said makes sense. Why don't you stop and take a rest?" Ling Xiao looked at Feng Xiaoming and said, "Do you think this place will be so friendly to us? We just stayed at the bridge for a little longer, and a monster like that appeared. It's obviously trying to force us to move forward. I've speculated that this ghost devil palace might be some kind of training ground from the outer space. It's a place used to train warriors. It has a set of settings to force warriors to keep moving forward and give up on being lazy. Chapter 36:41. So that's why Feng Xiaoming couldn't help but take another look at Ling Xiao. This young man was around the same age as her, and although his cultivation base was weaker than hers, he gave off a shrewd vibe. She couldn't help but admire him. Most of the people here knew how to analyze and consider, but there was no one like Ling Xiao who could instantly get to the point. There was no one else who could. Just as they were talking, a cry of surprise suddenly came from the other side. Feng Xiaoming turned her head to take a look, and a scene that made her horrified appeared. On the back of the Hell Rock Golem, a pair of black wings grew out. Flapping its wings, the Hell Rock Golem completely ignored the narrowness of the light bridge and continued chasing after them. Furthermore, the black wind didn't seem to have any effect on its body. This meant that a divine core warrior should be able to defend himself from the black wind. You're right. Feng Xiaoming still had some doubts before, but now she had no more doubts about Ling Xiao's words. As for the rest of the people, while blaming the little brat, they all started running forward. Right now, because of fear, they were running away at an extremely fast speed. They actually overtook Ling Xiao and Feng Xiaoming in an instant. Ling Xiao smiled, but he didn't chase after them. The black wind blew towards the light bridge in a regular pattern. Speeding up recklessly was the same as courting death. Also, although the Hell Rock Golem was extremely powerful and gave off a huge pressure, its speed wasn't too fast. It was fine as long as they were slightly faster than that guy. About 10 minutes later, a cry of surprise suddenly came from the front. Hey, you was the fastest. And he was almost swallowed by the black wind. Luckily, he was a feather and had a pair of wings, so he was able to avoid the danger. Everyone here was smart, and after a few more black winds, they slowly figured out the pattern. They stopped speeding up, and instead they learned from Ling Xiao and moved forward at a constant speed. Another 20 minutes passed. The Hell Rock Golem seemed to have suddenly disappeared. That terrifying pressure was gone as well. Everyone stopped to take a rest. Suddenly, they noticed something new in the darkness on both sides of the light bridge. It was a pavilion that was floating in the air. One of the pavilions had a treasure chest. Any martial artist who had entered the ruins would know that some people who had created the ruins liked to leave treasure chests for their descendants to retrieve. What exactly was in that treasure chest? It deeply attracted everyone's attention, although the pavilion was constantly floating. However, the distance between them remained about 20 meters. Although Divine Vein Realm cultivators couldn't fly, it wasn't a problem for them to travel 20 meters in the air. However, it was important to note that there was a black wind blowing up from the abyss. If he did not cultivate any special defensive martial arts, or those whose cultivation base hadn't reached the half-step divine core realm, there was no way they could withstand it, and their bodies would be instantly corroded. Therefore, even if he imagined that there were treasures in the treasure chest, he would not be able to do so. But still, no one dared to rashly take it. Ling Xiao opened his Tai Chi eye and looked through the treasure chest. There were 3 things in the box. The first one was a rank 1 Emperor grade martial skill. Secondly, it was a divine Emperor artifact. The third item was a divine grade Emperor artifact talisman. These 3 items were all useful to Ling Xiao, but not very useful. Although his physical body was very strong, he should be able to resist the black wind for a while. But there was no need to take the risk. After thinking for a moment, he turned around and left. To be honest, not taking the treasure was even harder than fighting for it. When Feng Xiaoming saw Ling Xiao leaving, she followed him. This girl had learned to be smart. In terms of strength, she might be stronger than Ling Xiao. But in terms of judgment and wisdom, she knew she was not as good as Ling Xiao. Her judgment about the Hell Rock Golem had proven this point. The rest of the people were still struggling, hesitating. Unknowingly, another 10 minutes had passed. The Hell Rock Golem that had disappeared appeared once again. The sound of wings flapping could be heard from behind. A terrifying pressure once again swept across the crowd. "Let's go!" The crowd gritted their teeth. Although they were reluctant to leave, under such circumstances, they had no choice but to move forward. After that, every once in a while, the crowd would see some strange scenes. Of course, these scenes were accompanied by the appearance of treasures. When the treasures appeared, the Hell Rock Golem would disappear for a moment. Approximately 10 minutes later, it would reappear. In other words, the crowd only had 10 minutes to fight for the treasures. At some point in time, in the vicinity of the light bridge, another pavilion appeared. On top of the pavilion, there were no longer treasure chests, but some gourds. Words were carved on the gourds. All of them were pills that were fatally attractive to divine Vane warriors. Heavenly Fragrance Pill, a special pill. When consumed by a divine Vane warrior, it can help him break through to the next realm. When consumed by a half-step divine core warrior, it can speed up the formation of a water core. Purple Sun Pill. When consumed by a half-step divine core warrior, it can increase his chances of breaking through to the divine core realm. Dragon Tooth Pill. It has the ability to strengthen one's body. It can strengthen a warrior's body as if he has cultivated a second grade Emperor rank defensive martial skill. Even Ling Xiao couldn't help but feel greedy for these pills. The temptation was just too great. It was simply tempting to commit a crime. Any one of these 3 elixirs was enough to drive a divine Vane realm martial artist crazy. As long as a divine Vane realm martial artist obtained these 3 elixirs, they would definitely go crazy. "They're all mine." Finally, Lu Hauren, who had the lowest cultivation, couldn't control his emotions any longer. He was able to restrain his greed from the treasure chests. After all, the treasure chests weren't opened, and no one knew what was inside. But these gourds had the names of the pills written on them. He couldn't resist the temptation of these pills. Swoosh! Suddenly, he dashed forward and flew towards the pavilion. The pavilion was still about 20 meters away. With his cultivation, he could barely reach it. Whoosh! Right at this moment, a strange sound of wind could be heard. Like a ferocious black beast, it swallowed Lu Hauren whole in an instant. His corpse fell to the ground and was completely corroded. Everyone stared at this scene in horror. Although Lu Hauren was the weakest amongst the 10 men, he was still a 9th level divine Vane warrior. He was killed by Hei Feng in just a few moments. This was a huge blow to everyone's impulsive mind. It calmed them down. Ling Xiao was the first to leave once again. "These gourds are just playing tricks on us. Even if Lu Hauren could reach the pavilion, it would be useless." Jiang Qin sighed in his mind. Although there were words engraved on the gourds, they were all empty inside. But then again, this ghost demon hall only opened once every 5 years. Someone must have been here before. Among these people, there must be someone who could get the pills. It was normal for it to be empty. Feng Xiaoming was dumbfounded when she heard Ling Zhao's words. She felt that Lu Hauren was too pitiful. He lost his life for something that didn't exist, but it couldn't be helped. "Let's go." Feng Ying, who had the best movement technique and traveled the furthest, sighed. He made an estimation based on Lu Hauren's death. Even he only had a 50% chance of getting the 3 gourds. Chapter 3642. Risking his life with a 50% chance of success? Feng Ying didn't think it was worth it. Besides, although the 3 pills were good, if he lost his life, it would be meaningless. Since he had left, the others had no reason to stay. The group continued their journey. The Hell Rock Golem appeared once again, chasing after them. But right now, the group had gotten used to this kind of chase. They weren't as scared as before. Outside the ghost demon palace, a dead body was suddenly thrown out. "Who's dead?" Everyone turned around and looked. "Lu Hauren, it's really him. But this is too fast. I wonder what kind of trouble he encountered." Everyone was surprised. It had only been less than an hour since they entered the palace. Someone had just died. Trash. I hope the others aren't as useless as this guy. The 10 divine core warriors didn't care about the dead Luhauran at all. They only cared about the things in the ghost demon palace. They had experienced this before. The more difficult it was, the higher the chance of getting something good in the end. They still couldn't see the end of the light bridge. Everyone was still running for their lives. The terrifying Hell Rock Golem was tirelessly chasing after them. Luckily, they all had some recovery pills, which prevented them from being caught by the Hell Rock Golem due to the depletion of their Jinyuan. Among all of them, Ling Xiao was the most relaxed. He didn't even need to use any pills. As long as the heart of gold existed, it would constantly deplete his potential. While running for his life, his cultivation was also increasing. At the very least, his potential could allow him to increase his current cultivation by 10% to 100% of his cultivation C's energy. Even if his potential was depleted, he still had a large amount of demon beast cores and pills he could convert into potential. Besides Ling Xiao, the most relaxed one was Lei Ying. It was obvious that he was the strongest amongst all of them. There was no doubt about that. As for the second ranked Hokage, he was also feeling tired. The rest of them were all relying on their pills to persevere. After all, they were all men who had experienced bloody battles. They wouldn't fall so easily. Of course, besides the fact that they wanted to survive, they were also tempted by the treasures along the way. It was also their motivation. Although they didn't find any treasures in the first few places. But that didn't stop them from finding more opportunities. Perhaps there would be a time when he would get something satisfactory. There's something else. Someone shouted out in surprise. This surprise was not only due to the appearance of the treasure. More importantly, he could rest for 10 minutes. Every time a treasure appeared, the Hell Rock monsters chasing after them would disappear. Ling Xiao looked in that direction. About 10 meters away from the light bridge, there was another pavilion. In the pavilion, an old man with white hair and beard was drinking by himself. The old man drank wine while playing chess. As for that game of chess, it was also a game played by himself. Beside him was a treasure chest. It looked very exquisite and beautiful. When the old man saw everyone, he suddenly stopped what he was doing and said with a smile, "Do you want this?" That voice seemed to be filled with great temptation. Everyone nodded, subconsciously. However, at that moment, a black shadow appeared in Ling Xiao's soul sea. He instantly regained his clarity. That was close. That was a soul technique. It's too strange. He took a deep breath and looked at the old man again. He no longer had the sage-like demeanor from before. However, the rest of the people seemed to be bewitched by the old man. Their eyes were filled with greed, and they seemed to want to rush over. "Wake up!" Ling Xiao gently patted Feng Xiaoming. Among everyone, only Feng Xiaoming's attitude towards him was the best. He just conveniently helped her. Feng Xiaoming woke up from the illusion and looked at Ling Xiao gratefully. She admired Ling Xiao even more in her heart. Among the rest of the people, there were also some who came back to their senses. After Feng Xiaoming, it was Lei Ying. The lightning stimulated his body and woke him up. Chun Qian actually woke up after Lei Ying. This made Ling Xiao a little surprised. "Wake up!" Lei Ying roared, thunder and lightning roared. Everyone woke up. But even so, greedy people are still greedy people. Feng Ying looked at Lei Ying and said, "I didn't expect to have an illusion, but that person, that thing seems to be real. Don't be impulsive. Since he can make us hallucinate once, he can make us hallucinate twice. You think those things are real, but maybe it's just an illusion. Think about Lu Hauran's experience. The treasures near the light bridge are obviously not to be taken. Hurry up, there will be better things ahead." Lei Ying reminded. Everyone felt that Lei Ying's words were reasonable. Even Feng Ying, who was full of greed, chose to give up again. This was not easy. Feng Xiaoming was about to leave with everyone, but found Ling Xiao was thinking about something. You're not going? Feng Xiaoming was stunned. What if I say I want to go and take the treasure chest? What do you think? Ling Xiao smiled. You're crazy. Feng Xiaoming was taken aback. Even you can't resist the temptation. Hey! Ling Xiao smiled and suddenly stepped onto the light bridge. His entire person was like an eagle as he pounced towards the pavilion. Ah! Feng Xiaoming's face turned pale with fright. Before, Ling Xiao helped her, so she naturally didn't want anything to happen to Ling Xiao. Many pavilions appeared, and everyone gave up. No one dared to take the treasures inside. Lu Haoran was the first to take the risk, and he died miserably. Will Ling Xiao be the second? Woo! The black wind whistled and rushed toward Ling Xiao like a fierce beast. This scene was exactly the same as what Lu Haoran encountered before. Humph, simply reckless. Even we don't dare to go over, but he dares to risk his life. This is another Lu Haoran. Although several people had already left, Qin Qian, Feng Ying, and a few others still hesitated for a moment. Then he saw this shocking scene. Feng Ying was obviously disdainful of Ling Xiao, but at this moment a strange scene appeared. On Ling Xiao's body, Ling Xiao suddenly changed in the air, and his figure suddenly accelerated. That black wind couldn't catch him in time and ended up pouncing on nothing. The distance of 10 meters was covered in an instant. Ling Xiao was already standing on top of the pavilion. What a good movement technique. This guy's instantaneous burst of speed is even faster than mine. Feng Ying felt that his face was burning. He originally thought that Ling Xiao was dead for sure, but who knew that it would be such a situation? But the moment he stepped onto the pavilion, Ling Xiao also met with trouble. That old man suddenly stood up and blasted a palm at Ling Xiao. Feng Xiaoming's heart jumped to her throat again. Break for me. Ling Xiao bit his finger and suddenly shot out his blood. After hitting that old man, he instantly turned into a talisman, falling to the ground. So it's an illusion talisman. Feng Ying seemed to have seen many things and had already seen through that thing. Illusion talisman, as long as it was activated, it could automatically maintain the illusion. It was very terrifying. Chapter 36:43. Ling Xiao looked at the illusion talisman. The quality of this talisman was pretty good. It could be used 3 times. Even though he had already used it once, he still had 2 more chances to use it. He placed the talisman into his storage ring. Then he checked the old man's wine. This wine was indeed good stuff. It could greatly increase one's cultivation base. For Ling Xiao, it could increase the limit of his potential. And at the same time, it could increase the energy in his cultivation sea. It could also increase the strength of his body. He picked it up and drank all of it. If he took it away, it would cause more trouble, so he might as well use it now. After drinking the wine, Ling Xiao's body shone with a dazzling golden light. He had transformed into a huge black tortoise. He could feel that his physical body had improved by a level. From the Peak King rank black tortoise divine physique, he had now become a First Order Emperor rank black tortoise divine physique. Not only that, the energy in his cultivation sea had also increased by 30%. The limit of his potential had also increased by 20%. Furthermore, the consumed potential had been completely replenished. While drinking, he opened the treasure chest. He took out the item from the chest. It was a violet sun pill. The reason why he came here was because of this violet sun pill. Now, he already had 2 purple sun pills on him. As long as he could gather 10 of them and concoct them into the violet sun fortune pill, he would be able to break through to the divine core realm without any problems. It's a violet sun pill, it's mine. Feng Ying didn't hesitate to reveal his greed. 4 half-step divine core warriors like him. The violet sun pill was extremely important. Right at this moment, Ling Xiao had left the pavilion and returned to the light bridge. With Haifeng's speed, there was no way he could catch up with him. Feng Xiaoming couldn't shut her mouth for a long time after witnessing this. She thought she had overestimated Ling Xiao. However, she did not expect Ling Xiao to be even more powerful than she had imagined. "Buddy, I don't need anything else, but that violet sun pill, you have to give it to me." Feng Ying arrived in front of Ling Xiao and said in a ferocious manner. At the same time, he unleashed his wind, martial soul. A frightening aura exploded out from his body. Although he was only at the half-step divine core realm, he had only formed 10% of his water core. However, he was still much stronger than a martial artist at the 9th level of the divine vein realm. "Brother Kazekage, I'll help you, but the wine on him belongs to me." At this time, Little Wimp also stood out. He sneered at Ling Xiao. There weren't many people left. If Kazekage wants to deal with Ling Xiao, it's basically impossible for others to interfere. Now, even Little Wimp had joined in. The situation instantly became extremely unfavorable to Ling Xiao. "Brother Ling, I'll help you deal with that brat." Feng Xiaoming stopped Little Wimp. After careful consideration, she decided to stand on Ling Xiao's side. It wasn't just because Ling Xiao could help her. More importantly, she was a person who knew how to repay kindness. "You want something, right? Come on." Ling Xiao sneered and jumped off the light bridge. He knew that his strength was definitely not as good as Kazekage under normal circumstances. That was why he had chosen such a unique way of fighting. The Kazekage hesitated for a moment before rushing out. It looked like greed could really make a person go crazy. The black wind whistled. Kazekage was able to dodge it with his wind martial soul. But compared to Ling Xiao's cosmic body, his speed was still slower. After stepping out of the light bridge, Ling Xiao suddenly disappeared. At this moment, Kazekage felt a huge sense of danger. He wanted to return to the light bridge, but Ling Xiao's attack had already arrived. Hell's Shadow Strike! In the darkness, Kazekage couldn't see Ling Xiao's attack, but he could still feel it. He desperately tried to block it. Although he managed to block Ling Xiao's attack, he was still hit by the black wind. At the same time, Ling Xiao was also hit by the black wind. However, with the First Order Emperor Realm Black Tortoise Divine Body, Ling Xiao's body had become extremely strong. The black wind couldn't cause any damage to him at this moment. But Kazekage was different. Although he was a half-step divine core warrior, because he had hastily used his true yuan to attack Ling Xiao, he didn't have enough true yuan left. He didn't have enough true yuan to block the black wind. After being hit by the black wind, his body quickly started to rot. But this guy was still much stronger than Lu Haoren. At the critical moment, he actually took out a talisman and turned into a golden beam, escaping onto the light bridge. Seeing Kazekage being attacked by Ling Xiao, Little Naughty had a bad feeling. He turned around and tried to escape. But Ling Xiao wouldn't let him go. This guy was so evil, if he didn't kill him, he would be in a lot of trouble in the future. With a flash, Ling Xiao unleashed the black flame sword and pierced Little Naughty's throat. After that, he kicked Little Naughty out of the light bridge. Little Naughty didn't even have the chance to scream before his body was completely corroded by the black wind. Ghost Devil Highness. Everyone watched as a dead body flew out from the light bridge. They were all shocked. Compared to Lu Haoren's death, it had only been 20 minutes, but another person had died. It's that Little Naughty kid. He's so strong. Why is he dead? No, he's not dead yet. He's still alive. Someone moved closer to take a look. They found that the Little Naughty kid was still alive. What happened? One of the divine core warriors asked. Ling Xiao. That Ling Xiao. Little Naughty only managed to say a few words before his head tilted to the side and he stopped breathing. Ling Xiao, could it be that he's using his power to take revenge? One of the divine core warriors furrowed his brows and said, "As long as he doesn't get delayed, It doesn't matter what he does. If he can't get any good treasures in the end, he'll have to die. Another divine core warrior said with a cold voice. Right at this moment, another man was thrown out from the light bridge. This man didn't look dead, but he was seriously injured. His condition was much better than Little Naughty's, but he was on the verge of dying. The crowd took a closer look. This man was one of the 3 seeded contestants, Feng Ying. Could it be that something terrifying happened? Even Feng Ying has been eliminated. Feng Ying was someone recommended by all the divine core warriors. Not only was he eliminated, but he was also seriously injured. This naturally caused the crowd to panic and speculate. Feng Ying, what's going on? The man who asked was the boss of the Sworn Brotherhood, Kuang Shi. He was one of the 10 divine core warriors. Ling Xiao. It was Ling Xiao who sneak attacked me. He was trying to steal my treasures. Damn it, Feng Ying said while gnashing his teeth. It was Ling Xiao again. If Little Naughty was eliminated, the 10 divine core warriors could still accept it. But now, Feng Ying was eliminated, and this made them angry. Feng Ying was someone they had spent a lot of effort to cultivate. Not only was he going to help them steal treasures from the Ghost Devil Palace, he was also their successor. This Ling Xiao, he deserves to die. Kuang Shi's expression was extremely gloomy. He had just learned that all the men from the Sworn Brotherhood had been eliminated, and now he had encountered something like this. How could he possibly be in a good mood? Guys, don't be angry. Once this is over, we'll just kill that guy. How dare he attack the seeded contestant we've chosen? What had happened was a huge matter that concerned their reputation. It wasn't just about stealing treasures anymore. Even if Ling Xiao gave them all his treasures, he still wouldn't be able to escape death. Chapter 3644. After killing Little Wimp and Feng Ying, Ling Xiao didn't feel any guilt or pity at all. They coveted what he had worked so hard to get. Damn it. However, what he didn't know was that killing someone in the Ghost Demon Palace didn't mean one would die. Instead, the degree of injury would be determined according to certain rules. Some people would die, and some would only suffer from serious injuries. This wasn't something Ling Xiao could fully grasp, but even if he knew, he wouldn't care. After entering the Ghost Demon Palace, he had no intention of handing over anything he got to those 10 divine core warriors. Why? They had worked so hard to get the treasures, but those 10 divine core warriors were going to get them without doing anything? Let's hurry up, the Hell Rock Golem is here. Chen Qian suddenly retracted all his hatred, and once again displayed the same enthusiasm as before. Just now, after watching the fight between Ling Xiao and Feng Ying, he had come to a conclusion. Trying to kill Ling Xiao on this bridge of light was just a dream. Therefore, he might as well get closer to Ling Xiao and then take the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Sure enough, the Hell Rock Golem had appeared again. No one dared stay any longer, and they hurriedly rushed forward. After walking for another half an hour, Ling Xiao found out that the few men who had left earlier were waiting in front of a huge bronze door. Miss Feng, have a sip of this. I think this is the end of the first stage. The second stage will be even more troublesome. Ling Xiao still had some wine left behind. Although it wasn't much, Feng Xiaoming was still willing to help him. He wasn't a stingy man. Feng Xiaoming was a girl, but she had a straightforward personality. She took a look at the wine gourd, then she took a sip from it. After drinking the wine, not only did her fatigue disappear, she also felt that her cultivation had improved a lot. Normally, she would have needed 1 or 2 years to improve her cultivation, but now she had done it in an instant. In fact, Ling Xiao was even more surprised than her. Ling Xiao's journey had stimulated the potential of the wine, and it had increased the energy in his cultivation to 100%. Even for him, if he wanted to increase the energy in his cultivation to 100% in the bloody battlefield, he would need a lot of time. However, he was able to finish the wine in half an hour. Coming to the Ghost Demon Palace was the right choice. There were simply endless opportunities. I wonder what kind of good stuff there will be in the second level. He couldn't help but feel excited. At this moment, the giant bronze door suddenly opened. It seemed that the door had opened because all the survivors had arrived. Ling Xiao was even more certain that this ghost devil palace was not an ordinary ruin, but a training ground specially used to train martial artists. Everything was done according to certain rules. For example, when the Hell Rock monster was about to catch up to them, it suddenly disappeared. They probably wouldn't appear again unless they returned to this place. Where is the Kazekage? Reikage asked coldly. Kazekage and Hokage were both ninja warriors, and the three of them were originally together. Therefore, he didn't care about Little Wimp's disappearance, but Wind Shadow's disappearance made him a little unhappy. I killed him, Ling Xiao said indifferently. Anyway, when he killed Kazekage, several people saw it, so it was impossible to hide it. He might as well tell them the truth. You think you can kill Kazekage? Hokage said disdainfully. Ling Xiao shrugged his shoulders. It was up to him to believe it or not. He was too lazy to explain. His attitude made Reikage and Hokage very angry. A mere 6th level of Divine Vein Realm dared to be disrespectful to them. He was simply courting death. What, you want to kill me here? Ling Xiao mocked. So what if I kill you? Hokage suddenly trembled and pounced on Ling Xiao. 2 fire snakes shot out from his hands. You don't even use an emperor-level martial skill, and you want to kill me? Ling Xiao instantly turned into a white light and dodged. Looking at the Hokage indifferently, he said, If you want to kill me, then let's waste our time here. I guess if no one enters this gate, then I will kill you. If no one enters, it will close soon. Bullshit. You speak as if you know everything. Hokage scolded, but he was quickly slapped in the face. As expected, the door began to close slowly. Not good. Everyone is in the door. Hokage, there will be plenty of opportunities to kill him. Let's go. Reikage rushed in first. The others didn't dare to be negligent. If they were trapped here, who knew if the Hell Rock monster would appear again? Moreover, they were here for the treasure. If they couldn't enter the second level, then what was the point? The moment they entered the bronze door, it closed. A stench of corpse chi suddenly rushed toward them. Everyone could even see a large number of moving zombies. These zombies were extremely fast and could even jump a long distance in the air. However, Ling Xiao and the others hadn't entered the zombies' attack range yet, so they weren't attacked yet. This place is eerie. It's even scarier than the first level. Everyone needs to be careful. Reikage reminded and walked out first. Ling Xiao opened his Tai Chi eye and walked while observing the surroundings. He wasn't a reckless person. Since it was confirmed that this ghost demon palace was most likely a trial site, everything seemed to be working normally. This zombie cave should also be a test. It wouldn't force people to die. As long as they didn't make any stupid mistakes, they wouldn't die. Of course, there would definitely be a reward in the zombie cave. Miss Feng, follow me. Ling Xiao suddenly grabbed Feng Xiaoming's hand. At that moment, Feng Xiaoming wanted to shake it off, but she restrained herself. However, her face was bright red. No one had ever dared to grab her hand like this. After walking for a while, the group of 7 discovered 2 doors. There were words written on the doors. One was the door of poison, the other was the door of raging flames. Anyway, neither of them was easy to deal with. Reikage had always thought of himself as the leader of this group. The others seemed to be subconsciously willing to listen to him, the strongest person. Big Brother Reikage, what do we do next? Zhang Beiyan couldn't help but ask. We can only split up. Reikage thought for a while and said, while he was thinking, Ling Xiao's Tai Chi I had already figured out the situation of this zombie cave. 2 doors, just like the literal meaning. Inside the door of poison, there were a large number of poisonous zombies. Inside the door of raging flames, there were more ghost fire zombies. His Tai Chi eye could completely reflect the map of the zombie cave into his mind. How to go, where was the safest, it was all clear at a glance. It was simply like a real map. Ling Xiao had encountered this kind of thing before. When he first obtained the Mountain River Martial Spirit, it had this function. After the Mountain River Martial Spirit advanced, all the auxiliary functions were integrated into the Tai Chi eye. Therefore, to him, this zombie cave seemed mysterious and unfathomable. In fact, all the secrets were already placed in front of his eyes. This Ling Xiao, where did he come from? He feels too mysterious. Feng Xiaoming saw Ling Xiao's performance and couldn't help but be surprised. Chapter 36:45. When Feng Xiaoming saw the smile on Ling Xiao's face, she knew that Ling Xiao must have a deep understanding of the zombie cave. Following him was definitely the right choice. After Reikid's arrangement, the 7 of them were divided into 2 teams. Reikid led one team and Kazakage led the other. Both of them were seeded contestants and were the strongest, so the others had no objections. However, Reikid's team only had 3 people, but they were all elites. They were Reikid, Heiyu, and Feng Xiaoming. The other team was Naruto, Chun Qian, Ling Xiao, and Zhang Beiyan. I want to be in the same team as Ling Xiao, Feng Xiaoming suddenly said. Reikid frowned. This Feng Xiaoming, he wanted to protect her, but she didn't give him any face. Humph, up to you. Then Naruto, come over and let them perish on their own. Reikid snorted coldly. Big brother Reikid, don't. Let Qin Qian be in the same team as you. This Qin Qian is not weak. Naruto glanced at Ling Xiao. It was obvious that he was up to no good. That was why he didn't want to be separated from Ling Xiao. He was still brooding over the fact that he couldn't kill Ling Xiao. Now that they were in the zombie cave, there was naturally an opportunity. He didn't believe that Ling Xiao could perform better than him in the zombie cave. Big brother, I choose the blazing door. Then I'll take the poison door. Reikid seemed to have guessed Naruto's thoughts. Naruto had a fire martial spirit. Naruto would have a greater advantage if he took the blazing door. It should be easy to kill Ling Xiao. After splitting up, both teams entered the blazing door and poison door respectively. Just as they entered the blazing door, Ling Xiao and the others were attacked. Ghost fire zombies were covered in blue ghost fire. It was very strange. There were about a dozen of them, and each of them wasn't weak. Most of them were in the 7th or 8th level of the Divine Vein Realm. Only one of them should be the leader of the ghost fire zombies. Its strength had reached the 9th level of the Divine Vein Realm. Kill! Naruto attacked first and released his fire martial spirit. Those ghost fire couldn't do any harm to him. He punched out, and fire snakes danced wildly. 4 Willow! The wisp zombies had their bodies pierced through and fell to the ground. It seemed that the fire snake released by the fire shadow was not an ordinary fire snake, but a demonic fire. Even though the nether flame zombie was capable of executing flames as well, it was still weaker than Zhang Xian, so it would still be burned to death. The troublesome one was the Willow, the wisp zombie leader. Although it didn't attack immediately, it caused the temperature in the cave to rise sharply. This made them feel very uncomfortable. It could be imagined that in an almost enclosed environment, the temperature had suddenly risen to more than 50 degrees. Everyone was so hot that they couldn't breathe, let alone fight. Fortunately, these people were not weak. Otherwise, just this high temperature alone could suffocate them to death. Zhang Beiyun's strength was weaker, and it was obvious that she was in a terrible situation. However, she was still a 9th level Divine Vein Realm martial artist. Therefore, he endured the scorching heat and killed a Willow, the wisp zombie. Feng Xiaoming was stronger, and her performance was second only to Hokage. Ling Xiao didn't make a move for a long time. This made the Hokage very uncomfortable. Boy, what are you trying to do? Ling Xiao didn't bother with him. Instead, he took out the Arcanum Bow. He silently circulated his true yuan. 2 true yuan arrows appeared on the arcane bow. One was black and the other was white. He was planning to use the arcane bow to unleash the 9 revolutions, celestial demon skill. After all, the 9 revolutions celestial demon skill didn't have any requirements for the weapon. Divine light, incoming demonic shadow die. The black and white sword beams pierced through dozens of zombies and arrived in front of the zombie leader. The 2 sword beams, then, merged into one. The Willow, the wisp zombie leader, didn't have time to dodge, and was knocked away by the terrifying force. With Ling Xiao's current strength, it wasn't difficult for him to kill a 9th-level Divine Vein Realm Martial Artist with an Emperor skill. However, this kind of refreshing battle could only be found in the Divine Vein Realm. After breaking through to the Divine Core Realm, it would be impossible for him to do this again. After the Willow, the wisp zombie leader died, the temperature in the cave quickly dropped back to its original level. Because of this, the battle between these men became much easier. Zhang Beiyun also became more active in killing the zombies. After a short moment, they had killed all the Willow, the wisp zombies. Hokage, there are some things you don't understand, so don't talk nonsense. Haven't you heard of the saying, capture the leader first? Ling Xiao didn't forget to make fun of the Hokage. Humph, I don't need you to do anything. I can kill that Willow, the wisp zombie leader myself. The Hokage let out a cold snort. Although his words were tough, he didn't have a good expression on his face. He knew that this time he had made a fool of himself. Therefore, he could only use his actions to cover up his embarrassment. They continued, walking forward. While they were walking forward, Ling Xiao's Tai Chi eye was able to capture a larger area of the map. This zombie cave was much larger. Currently, his Tai Chi eye could only capture an area of 100 meters. Therefore, he could only see an area of 100 meters. Luckily, he could capture all the paths they took with his Tai Chi eye. Along the way, because of Ling Xiao's warning, although they were ambushed a few times, everyone was prepared. Therefore, it didn't take them much effort. Because of this, Ling Xiao's status in the group had increased a lot. Not only did Feng Xiaoming trust him, even Zhang Beiyun started worshipping him. Only the Hokage was getting more and more jealous. They walked forward for another hour or so, even if they could perfectly deal with the Willow, the wisp zombie every time. The continuous battle also made the 4 of them a little tired. The Hokage suggested to take a break, and no one objected. Dash! Suddenly, Zhang Beiyun let out a shrill scream. Then, her head actually hit the wall of the cave. It was as if she had gone crazy. At the same time, the Hokage also felt that he seemed to have been bitten by something. Suddenly, his consciousness became a little blurry. He began to hallucinate. Not good. This thing can make people hallucinate. The Hokage hurriedly sat cross-legged, hoping to use his soul power to repel this illusion. Previously, when he had encountered the illusion talisman, he had relied on his willpower to resist the control of the illusion. Ling Xiao glanced at the Hokage and ignored him. Instead, he walked over and grabbed Zhang Beiyun. Then, with a thought, a terrifying soul power was released, turning into a soul spike. It pierced into Zhang Beiyun's body. Moments later, a small black bug fell to the ground. It was already dead. This is called the ghost louse. Although its strength is very weak, the gas it releases can make people hallucinate. Many experts who didn't pay attention have fallen in its hands. Ling Xiao picked up the ghost louse and said, At this time, Zhang Beiyun had recovered from her madness. Her face was full of horror. That insect is very small, but it can produce gas that makes people crazy. It is really terrifying. So the Hokage was also hit by the ghost louse's hallucination gas. Zhang Beiyun asked, Yeah. Ling Xiao nodded. Are you going to kill him? Feng Xiaoming suddenly asked. Because the Hokage wanted to kill Ling Xiao before, Ling Xiao's action was reasonable. Chapter 3646. Don't worry, I won't kill him. Ling Xiao shook his head and said, if he dies, we will lose a powerful force. What Ling Xiao didn't say was that he would definitely kill this Hokage, but it wasn't the time yet. After he saved Zhang Beiyun, he hit the Hokage with his palm. A cold force invaded the Hokage's body, and the ghost louse was immediately frozen into ice and fell to the ground. The Hokage also returned to normal. You saved me. The Hokage looked at Ling Xiao in disbelief. That's right. You have to remember to repay kindness. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Even without you, I would still be fine. The Hokage said disdainfully, is that so? Ling Xiao suddenly showed a playful smile and said, there are more than 10 ghost louse here. You think I killed 2, and that's it? Feng Xiaoming, Zhang Beiyun, come and stand with me. Who are you trying to fool? The Hokage didn't believe it at all. Ling Xiao sneered and suddenly grabbed the cave wall with both hands. The other 3 didn't see anything. The ghost louse was too small and blended into the darkness, making it impossible to identify. However, this Ling Xiao easily caught 2 and directly froze them to death. Hokage, good luck to you. There are at least 6 ghost louse here. They are only afraid of soul force and cold. Ling Xiao smiled and actually didn't care about Naruto. Instead, he began to observe the environment here. Suddenly, he dashed to a corner and punched the wall. There was a shining crystal in the wall. Energy essence, the Hokage exclaimed. That's right. Ghost louse likes to absorb the energy of martial artists and then make it into energy essence. Therefore, wherever they appear, there will be energy essence. This thing is good stuff. He smiled and directly swallowed the energy essence. When the energy essence entered his stomach, the consumed potential was completely recovered, and the upper limit of potential increased by 10%. Not only that, he felt that the door of breakthrough was almost half opened. If everything went smoothly, he would probably be able to advance to the 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm soon. At that point of time, he wouldn't even need to fear a half-step Divine Core Warrior. Why are there no more ghost lice? The Hokage was afraid of the ghost louse, so he didn't dare to compete with Ling Xiao for the energy essence. However, even after Ling Xiao took the energy essence, he did not see a single ghost louse. The Hokage suddenly realized that he had been fooled. Brat, how dare you lie to me? The Hokage was furious. That's right, so what if I lied to you? Who asked you to be so stupid? Ling Xiao said mockingly, you'd better be obedient. Let me remind you that there are little things like the ghost lice in this zombie cave. Although it's not as obvious as zombies, its damage is not inferior to zombies at all. The Hokage's face changed again and again. Finally, he gritted his teeth and said, go! He believed that he was stronger than Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao held an even greater advantage. That was his familiarity with the ghost demon palace. This Ling Xiao was like a walking encyclopedia. He was really afraid that he would encounter something like the ghost louse again. If it wasn't for Ling Xiao, he would be dead for sure. Ling Xiao wanted to take advantage of his combat strength. He also wanted to take advantage of Ling Xiao's knowledge. The 2 of them didn't have any conflicts for now, so they could only work together and move forward. For the next hour, they continued to move forward in this zombie cave with a complicated terrain. Every once in a while, they would be attacked by Willow, the wisp zombies. They also had to be careful of the dangers hidden in the dark. For example, traps and the ghost louse. With Ling Xiao's reminder, the group was able to get through this difficult situation. The Hokage started to feel lucky that he didn't try to kill Ling Xiao. If he did, even if he wasn't killed by these dangers, he would have lost a layer of his skin. Along the way, Ling Xiao had obtained a lot of energy essences, and he had consumed all of them. He and the others could only be considered strangers. Even with Feng Xiaoming, he hadn't known her for long, so there was no need to share. And this energy essence, no matter how much there was, he wouldn't complain about it. Even if he gave Feng Xiaoming or Zhang Beiyin a few pills to replenish true essence, he wouldn't give it to them. Gradually, the door to breakthrough opened wider and wider. Ling Xiao's body even started to release the aura that only a martial artist at the 7th level of the divine vein realm should have. This Ling Xiao is definitely a scourge if we leave him alive. As long as we walk out of the zombie cave, we must kill him. Otherwise, all the good things will be snatched away by him alone. The Hokage was very afraid in his heart. Ling Xiao's existence was a huge threat to him. Even though he could still protect him through the crisis now, he would become a powerful opponent in the future. He was scheming against Ling Xiao. How could Ling Xiao not be scheming against him? If the Hokage didn't listen obediently, then he could only kill the Hokage. But that would have to be after his cultivation breakthrough. It would be very difficult to win if they were to fight head-on now. Everyone be careful. I think we've reached the end of this path. The closer we get to the end, the more dangerous it will be. Ling Xiao reminded them. He had been to many ruins, so he had experience in this area. The other 3 nodded their heads. They continued walking forward for a while. Suddenly, they felt a scorching heat approaching. Terrifying noises kept sounding out. Just by listening to the noises, they could tell how many wildfire zombies there were. Let's retreat first. Ling Xiao used his Tai Chi eye and looked around. Damn it, they had just walked into the nest of wildfire zombies. There were at least 100 wildfire zombies, and most of them were at the 9th level of the divine vein realm. One of them was even scarier. It was a half-step divine core wildfire zombie king. Hearing his order to retreat, no one dared to hesitate. But right at this moment, the temperature in the cave began to rise rapidly. The path they were taking to retreat had turned red from the heat. The temperature had reached over 100 degrees Celsius. Everyone had to circulate their true yuan to protect their bodies. If not, they would be burned to death by the high temperature. But even so, Zhang Beiyin was still panting heavily. Her eyes were blurred, and she looked like she was about to die. Feng Xiaoming wasn't in a good condition either. Only Huiying was still normal. After all, he had a fire martial soul, and his resistance to high temperatures was much stronger than ordinary people. At this critical moment, Ling Xiao unleashed his extreme, cold domain. It caused the temperature to drop slightly, but it was still around 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. It was much hotter than the wildfire zombie king. Kill! Ling Xiao took out his profound theory bow and started shooting at the wildfire zombies. Every time, 3 true yuan arrows would be shot out. Every time, 3 wildfire zombies would be killed. However, the wildfire zombie king was too far back, and it was too strong. It wasn't easy for Ling Xiao to kill it with just 1 arrow. Zhang Beiyin and Feng Xiaoming were fighting desperately as well. As for Huiying, he was fighting and retreating at the same time. Ling Xiao didn't have the time to care about this idiot. While shooting at the wildfire zombies, he was also harassing the wildfire zombie king with arrows. This prevented it from launching a more powerful attack. You idiots can continue, I'm leaving. There were many forks in this zombie cave. Huiying didn't want to wait for his death here. Chapter 3647. In the Hokage's mind, although Ling Xiao could help him overcome many difficulties, this time he was sure that Ling Xiao was at his wit's end. The half-step divine core, Ghost Fire Zombie King, was simply too strong. Even the Hokage didn't have the confidence to defeat it. Not to mention Ling Xiao. That bastard, he really ran away. Ling Xiao furrowed his brows. But he didn't have the time to think too much about it. Brother Ling, let's run. There's no way the 3 of us can defeat so many Ghostfire zombies. Feng Xiaoming suggested, can you stall that half-step divine core zombie king? Ling Xiao didn't seem like he was going to leave. Instead, he asked, yes. Feng Xiaoming thought for a moment and said, but even if I can stall it, there are still a few hundred ghost fire zombies left. There are more than a dozen ghost fire zombie leaders here. You and Zhang Beiyin are no match for them. Then you don't have to worry about it. Just lure the ghost fire zombie king away, then run for your life. There are many paths here, and one ghost fire zombie king shouldn't be able to do anything to you. Zhang Beiyin, you should get ready to run as well. I'll bring up the rear. You two choose a safe path. Ling Xiao wasn't a great person. It was just that he had some trump cards that he didn't want others to see. Therefore, he had to let Feng Xiaoming and Zhang Beiyin leave. Of course, Feng Xiaoming was willing to help him take away a ghost fire zombie king, and this would greatly reduce the pressure on him. I'll lure away a ghost fire zombie leader for you as well. During this period of time, Zhang Beiyin had been eating Ling Xiao's pills, and she had grown a lot. Therefore, the ghost fire zombie leader couldn't pose too much of a threat to him. As long as he was careful, he should be able to kill it. All right, let's do it now. Feng Xiaoming, just focus on attacking that ghost fire zombie king. Barrier Martial Soul. Ling Xiao unleashed his Barrier Martial Soul, leaving only the ghost fire zombie king and a ghost fire zombie leader outside. Although this Barrier Martial Soul could be broken from the outside, it wasn't easy. It's even harder to break it from the inside, unless they killed Ling Xiao directly. So when Feng Xiaoming attacked the ghost fire zombie king outside, the ghost fire zombie king chased after her. As for Zhang Beiyin, she also lured away a Willow, the wisp zombie leader, and escaped with Feng Xiaoming. It was always safer with two people together. Brother Ling, if you can't kill him, then run. Don't force yourself. Feng Xiaoming's voice sounded from afar. Ling Xiao smiled. Escape? Why did he run away? After sensing that the two of them had gone far away, Ling Xiao instantly released his Tyrant martial spirit. After that, a terrifying heavenly flame was released from the Sky Tyrant martial spirit. The entire barrier was burning. Heavenly flame. Ling Xiao was using heavenly flame. It was many times more powerful than the Willow, the Wisp. The Willow, the Wisp zombies groaned in pain and were all burned to ashes in an instant. After killing all the ghost fire zombies, Ling Xiao did not choose to leave. Instead, he sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. Previously, he had already opened more than half of the gate of breakthrough. This time, the martial spirit of the Tyrant Heavens had incinerated hundreds of ghost fire zombies. A huge amount of murderous aura entered his body and was absorbed by the Yin-Yang Universal Tiger. It stimulated his cultivation, causing him to break through again. Therefore, he decided to break through to the 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm here before leaving. About half an hour later, a terrifying energy erupted from Ling Xiao's body. Luckily, he had the Barrier Martial Spirit. If not, he might have attracted the attention of all the people around him. 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm. For Ling Xiao, this was not just a breakthrough. It meant that his combat strength was now strong enough to fight a half-step Divine Core Warrior. No matter if it was Lei Ying or Huiying, as long as he ran into anyone who dared to harm him, he would kill them without hesitation. Time to go. Ling Xiao stood up and sped up. Almost all the ghost fire zombies in the Gate of Raging Flames would run away when they sensed his aura. They no longer dared to fight him. Therefore, for the rest of the time, he didn't run into any enemies. Half an hour later, the Gate of Raging Flames and the Gate of Deadly Poison finally merged into one. A huge underground palace appeared in front of him. This place should be the final destination of the 2nd stage. He couldn't see what was inside, but he could sense the smell of some rare treasures coming from inside. Of course, there were enemies as well. The other 6 men were waiting for him there. There were many ghost fire zombies and deadly poison zombies nearby. Obviously, they were killed by them. You actually made it out alive. Huiying was surprised. There were so many ghost fire zombies surrounding Ling Xiao. He thought Ling Xiao wouldn't be able to make it out alive. Hee, sorry to disappoint you. Ling Xiao said with a sneer. Brother Ling, it's good that you're here. It seems like the final destination requires all the remaining people to enter together. We've sent some puppets to check it out. There are many good things inside. But too bad, it's very dangerous. Even the puppets were killed. Feng Xiaoming was very happy when she saw Ling Xiao. She had been very worried about him. Zhang Beiyin let out a sigh of relief as well. Thank you for your concern. Someone wants me dead, but too bad, I'm a cat, I have 9 lives. Ling Xiao gazed at Hua Ying coldly. Now that he had broken through, it was time to kill Huang. What's the situation inside? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. Obviously, now wasn't the time to kill Huang. With Lei Kage here, it wouldn't be easy. He had to wait until Hua Ying was alone. And the situation is bad. Feng Xiaoming said there are 3 ghost fire zombie kings and 3 deadly poison zombie kings. All of them are at the half-step divine core realm, 1st level water core realm. Of course, these aren't the scariest ones. The scariest one is the zombie emperor. That guy has reached the 9th level water core realm. None of us can win alone. We have to work together. Besides that, there are countless ghost fire zombies and ghost fire zombie leaders. My puppets were killed before they could find out more. Hearing up to here, Ling Xiao let out a sigh of relief. As long as there weren't any divine core zombies, there was nothing for him to be afraid of. For the current Jiang Qin, only a divine core zombie could make him feel fear. There are some things that I don't have to say. There are 7 of us here, and it's impossible for us to work together. So, don't even think about working together. After learning his lesson from Huang, Ling Xiao didn't want to work together with these people. What if someone suddenly decided to run away? Wouldn't that be a trap? This time, whoever dares to run away alone, or take all the treasures alone, they will all die. Lei Kage said with a cold voice, Ling Xiao, although we have some grudges against each other, this tomb chamber isn't going to be easy. Don't be careless. Whatever grudges you have, we'll talk about them after we pass this trial. You're right. If someone dares to run away or take all the treasures alone, we'll kill them all. Can't we just kill them? Ling Xiao said with a grin on his face. Of course, we can work together and kill those people. Lei Kage nodded his head. All right, we'll listen to you for now. Let's try working together. Right now, Ling Xiao didn't want to start a conflict with Lei Kage, but after entering the tomb chamber, he would decide what to do based on the situation. Besides Feng Xiaoming and Zhang Beiyin, he didn't trust anyone else. Chapter 3648. It had to be said that the combined strength of these 7 people was still very strong. Besides Ling Xiao, the weakest among them was at the 9th level of the divine vein realm. The strongest was at the half-step divine core realm. Although Ling Xiao was only at the 7th level of the divine vein realm, his combat strength was on par with a half-step divine core warrior. Therefore, after entering the tomb, those ordinary ghost fire zombies and deadly poison zombies were no match for them. They were all killed with ease. Don't underestimate the enemy. The zombies we'll face next will be stronger, and a zombie leader or even a zombie king might appear at any time. If we encounter a zombie king, don't fight it alone, work together and kill it. With our combined strength, as long as we work together, this zombie king will be no match for us. Lei Ying reminded everyone as he walked forward. Everyone nodded their heads. No rare treasures had appeared yet. There was no harm in working together. Instead, they could move forward faster. About 10 minutes later, the group encountered more than 200 zombies at the same time. One of them was a ghost fire zombie king, Thunderstorm Fist. Facing the ghost fire zombie king, Lei Ying let out a furious roar. He threw out a frightening punch. The ghost fire zombie king was sent flying by the punch. At the same time, dozens of zombies were killed. A first-grade Emperor martial skill, but it's obviously a higher level than the 9-layered demonic slash. It should be a high-level, first-grade Emperor martial skill. Ling Xiao was trying to estimate Lei Ying's strength. He was much stronger than Feng Ying and Huiying. No wonder both of them called him Big Brother. Black Feather kill. When the Ghost Fire Zombie King fell to the ground, Black Feather suddenly attacked. A black feather fell off from his body and flew away with a strong wind. It pierced into the Ghost Fire Zombie King's body. The Ghost Fire Zombie King was torn into pieces. Another first-grade Emperor martial skill, and it's a high-level one. Looks like this black feather isn't any weaker than Lei Ying, and he's really ruthless. Ling Xiao thought to himself. After the Ghost Fire Zombie King was killed, all the other zombies were killed in an instant. Ling Xiao didn't even have the chance to attack. The group continued moving forward. A few minutes later, they encountered another deadly poison zombie king. However, this deadly poison zombie king was much stronger than the Ghost Fire. The deadly zombie king, and the others didn't dare approach it. Ling Xiao, don't you have a lot of ideas? You didn't even make a move just now. You can't be thinking of doing nothing, right? That poisonous fog made everyone somewhat fearful, and they did not dare to rashly approach it. The Hokage looked back and sneered. If I make a move, you won't be able to do anything. Ling Xiao sneered and walked towards the poisonous fog. Suddenly, 9 snake heads appeared behind him. The 9 snake heads opened their mouths and sucked in all the poisonous fog. Kill! This time, Raikage and Heiyu joined forces again, but this time they attacked at the same time. Their attacks landed directly on the poison zombie king's body, severely injuring the poisonous zombie king. In the end, the poisonous zombie king's fists were no match for 4 hands, and he was beaten to death by everyone. Very successful. There are only 6 Ghost Fire Zombie Kings here. We've already killed 2 of them. As long as we follow this rhythm, all the Zombie Kings here will be destroyed by us. Raikage looked at Ling Xiao, and his eyes flashed with splendor. Everyone knew how strong Heiyu was. But Ling Xiao was actually not afraid of the poisonous Zombie King's poison. He was also not afraid of the Ghost Fire Zombie King's Ghost Fire. What exactly was this fellow's martial spirit? Of course, this splendor only lasted for an instant. He was in a good mood right now, so he didn't have time to care about that. I'm afraid it won't go that smoothly. Ling Xiao suddenly said, Everyone, prepare to fight with your lives on the line. The zombie emperor is here. Where is it? You said it would come, and you want to trick people again? The Hokage had suffered a loss from Ling Xiao, so he didn't believe it at all. But Feng Xiaoming and Zhang Beiyin were already prepared. Chen Qian didn't dare to be negligent. He had always kept a low profile, but he believed in Ling Xiao's judgment. The rest of them were still hesitating when suddenly a gust of fishy wind blew over. It really is the zombie emperor. Raikage was shocked, and only then did he realize that Ling Xiao's judgment was right. But it was useless to say that now. The terrifying zombie emperor was tall, about 4 meters tall. Half of his body was burning with ghost flames, and the other half was spitting out poisonous mist. He had 2 heads, and his appearance was incomparably ferocious. Oh no, I didn't expect the zombie emperor's reaction to be so sensitive. I'm afraid the remaining 4 zombie kings will also come over. Raikage frowned. His premonition quickly turned into reality. Other than the 4 zombie kings, they also brought nearly 1,000 zombies. They were densely packed and completely surrounded the 7 of them. Raikage pulled out a long blade that flickered with lightning. It was an immortal grade emperor weapon. This allowed his attack power to increase further. Berserk Thunder Slash. This Berserk Thunder Slash seemed to have been transformed from the Berserk Thunder Fist, but its power was even stronger. It seemed that Raikage was also a genius, or else his clansmen had improved this fist technique for him. The saber energy of the gale slashed out crazily and actually pushed the zombie emperor back 4 to 5 steps. There was also a terrifying wound on his body. More than 20 zombies around him were killed in an instant. But before everyone could be happy, the wound on the zombie emperor's body instantly healed. This is troublesome. This zombie emperor is even more terrifying than I imagined. Rakage frowned, and his expression was very ugly, coupled with the densely packed zombies around them. Their current situation was very troublesome. A large amount of poisonous mist filled the passageway. The high temperature was also wreaking havoc. Ling Xiao, think of a way. At this time, the first person Rakage thought of was Ling Xiao, because Ling Xiao should have the best way to deal with this poisonous mist and high temperature. Others definitely couldn't. If I make a move now, will I be able to get more things later? Ling Xiao laughed. If you don't make a move, you won't be able to live. Rakage said coldly, That's not necessarily true. Believe it or not, let's make a bet? Ling Xiao said indifferently, Forget it. If you can solve this crisis, you can have 1/3 of the things you get, and we'll split the rest equally. Rakage gritted his teeth and said, Thank you very much. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. At the same time, 9 snake heads appeared behind him, and a ferocious undead bird appeared. Absorb! At that moment, the poisonous mist and high temperature were all sucked into the body of the 9-snake general and the undead bird, and transformed into the potential of Ling Xiao's body. The consumption just now was also instantly recovered. Ling Xiao, you're too despicable. You have such ability, but you take advantage of it. Hokage scolded. Hee, if you have the ability, I'll give you 1/3 of it, and you'll clean up these zombies? Ling Xiao said disdainfully, If I had the ability, why would I ask you to help me? Hokage muttered, If you don't have the ability, then shut your stinky mouth. No one will think you're mute. Next, this is a free service. Ling Xiao took out a piece of alchemy formation stone. Then he threw it out. In an instant, lightning fell, like a rain of arrows, bombarding the zombies. Chapter 36-49. Formation. Everyone couldn't help but be surprised. This Ling Xiao was getting more and more surprising. Not only could he absorb the poisonous fog and high temperature, he actually knew how to use formations. Moreover, the power of this formation was not weak. Basically, ordinary zombies and zombie leaders couldn't withstand it at all. Even the Zombie King and Zombie Emperor had no choice but to defend for a while and were unable to attack. A moment later, the ground was filled with the remains of zombies. There were only 4 Zombie Kings and 1 Zombie Emperor left. Everyone was dumbfounded. Rakage! I'll leave that Zombie Emperor to you and Hokage. The rest of you, deal with the 4 Zombie Kings and quickly end the battle. At this moment, Ling Xiao had become the commander. As for the others, they also subconsciously accepted his orders. Feng Xiaoming dealt with a Zombie King alone. Ling Xiao dealt with a Zombie King alone, and Heiyu dealt with a Zombie King alone. The 4th Zombie King was jointly dealt with by Qin Qian and Zhang Beiyin. Everything went very smoothly. Heiyu and Ling Xiao took the lead to kill the Zombie King, followed by Feng Xiaoming and Qin Qian. Next, there was only 1 Zombie Emperor left. Rakage and Hokage teamed up and were evenly matched with the Zombie Emperor. But just as everyone was thinking about how to get rid of the Zombie Emperor, trouble was coming. The Zombie Emperor suddenly scuttled out from the gap between Rakage and Hokage. At that moment, Rakage and Hokage could have stopped the Zombie Emperor, but they didn't, because they saw the Zombie Emperor pouncing towards Ling Xiao. These 2 dogs realized that success was imminent. They were ready to burn the bridge after crossing the river. Fortunately, Ling Xiao had never underestimated his opponent. Seeing the Zombie Emperor pouncing over, he instantly entered the Yin-Yang Universal Light Tiger Beast Soul transformation. Then he activated the Cosmic Light Body and turned into a white light, dodging the Zombie Emperor's attack. The Zombie Emperor crashed into the wall of the cave, causing the entire tomb to shake. This power was not small. If he was really hit by it, Ling Xiao would probably be injured, even if he didn't die. Why aren't you helping? Feng Xiaoming shouted, and already charged over. Zhang Beiyun also went over to help, but the others did not move. This was what Ling Xiao was worried about. These people did not have any intention of being united at all. They saw that success was imminent. Therefore, he had no intention of letting Ling Xiao live. With one less person sharing the treasures, they would be able to get a lot more. Feng Xiaoming's strength was not bad. Her sword pierced the zombie emperor's back, causing the zombie emperor to pause for a moment. Although Zhang Beiyun couldn't help much, she still seized the opportunity to stab him twice. The zombie emperor was injured. However, the wound was healing at an accelerated rate. Heal my ass. Bloody plague. Ling Xiao suddenly released the bloody plague. The wound on the zombie emperor that was originally healing suddenly stopped. Ling Xiao did not dare to be careless. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he suddenly launched an attack. The third form of the 9 transformation technique of the fiend god, heaven splitting divine light, demon shadow soaring. His 9 revolutions god fiend art was also a high-grade, first-order emperor class martial skill. It was much better than the 9-fold demonic slash. The third style was much more powerful than the first 2 styles. A terrifying attack came crashing down. The zombie emperor knelt down on the ground. Feng Xiaoming also unleashed an emperor-class martial skill, cutting off both of the zombie emperor's legs. On the other hand, Zhang Beiyun stabbed her blade into the zombie emperor's neck. But even so, the zombie emperor was still alive. Get out of my way! Right at this moment, Lei Ying suddenly dashed over and stabbed his blade into the zombie emperor's body. A crystal suddenly emerged from the zombie emperor's body. Energy essence, and this energy essence is much bigger than the one produced by the ghost louse. There was no way Ling Xiao would let such a good thing fall into Lei Ying's hands. Get lost! Without saying anything, Ling Xiao immediately unleashed the 7 swords fusion and attacked Lei Ying. His attack was something that even a half-step divine core warrior wouldn't dare not defend against. Using this opportunity, Ling Xiao grabbed the energy essence and swallowed it. In an instant, he could feel that the energy in his cultivation sea had increased by 50%. The upper limit of his potential had also increased by 30%. Damn it! How dare you steal from me? Lei Ying roared out. You're so fucking shameless. The zombie emperor was nearly killed by the 3 of us, and you're here to take advantage of it. How dare you say it's yours? Ling Xiao scolded. I knew you weren't a good person, but I never expected you to be so shameless. You better hand over that thing, or else. Don't even think about taking any of the things we're going to find later. Lei Ying said coldly. You can try. Ling Xiao stared at Lei Ying, showing no signs of backing down. Swoosh. Hey, you suddenly left. Not good. That guy wants to steal from us. Let's go. When Lei Ying saw the situation, he didn't want to be left behind. Without hesitation, he dashed out. The rest of the group didn't want to be left behind. There were no longer any monsters in this tomb chamber. They just needed to focus on searching for treasures. Not long after that, the group of 7 arrived at the zombie emperor's nest. Compared to the dead atmosphere in the other places, this place was much more peaceful. This place, however, was full of vitality. All kinds of plants were growing on the walls of the cave. The ground was covered with weeds as well. Ling Xiao opened his Tai Chi eye and saw that there were some natural treasures growing in the places where the plants were hidden. They were all fruits that were of great help to one's cultivation, body, and soul. Without any hesitation, he used his cosmic body and quickly picked them. The others also realized this and hurriedly went to snatch them. There were a total of 3 fruits: cultivation fruit, flesh fruit, and soul fruit. There were about 100 of them. 50 of them were ripe and the most suitable for consumption. All of them were taken by Ling Xiao. The rest were either not ripe or not effective. Ling Xiao left them to the others, in case he got beaten up by the group. In any case, no one knew that he had picked good things. After collecting the fruits, everyone ate them and then cultivated here. Ling Xiao also sat cross-legged with Feng Xiaoming and Zhang Beiyin. He gave 5 of the 50 fruits he had obtained to the 2 of them and let them eat them secretly. After all, these 2 had helped him before. To be honest, if not for these 2 people, he wouldn't have been able to defeat the zombie emperor so easily. All 45 fruits were eaten by Ling Xiao. He could feel that his first-order emperor divine body, the black tortoise divine body, had leveled up from the low grade to the high grade, skipping the mid-grade. His soul strength had also increased by 30%. He was much stronger than before. Originally, when his soul strength reached the 4 major regions, his advantage wasn't that obvious. But now, with a 30% increase, his advantage had been increased by a lot. His foundation was strong, and 30% wasn't a small amount. As for his cultivation, the energy in his cultivation ocean had increased from 50% to 80%. His potential limit had also increased by 30%. Although he still hadn't broken through, he had still made great progress. As far as he was concerned, this trip to the Ghost Devil Palace was a huge gain for him. The stronger he was now, the more confident he would be when facing those 10 divine core warriors. Chapter 3650. Ling Xiao's strength had skyrocketed. Everyone else's strength had also increased. 2 hours later, Lei Ying and Hui Ying were the first to leave. After that, everyone else left as well. Ling Xiao and Feng Xiaoming were the last to leave. Feng Xiaoming actually had a lot of questions about Ling Xiao's calmness, but she didn't ask them in the end. Both of them walked out of the tomb chamber and saw a door in front of them. They knew this was the entrance to the final stage. The first stage is the light bridge abyss. The second stage is the zombie cave. I wonder what the third stage is? Feng Xiaoming asked curiously. Fortuitous Encounter Mountain. Ling Xiao pointed at the 3 words above the door and said with a smile, "You 2 are really slow." Lei Ying said unhappily. He wanted to enter the third stage as soon as possible, but he was still blocked by this door. "Are you in a hurry to die?" Ling Xiao looked at Lei Ying with disdain. Right at this moment, the door opened and a blue portal appeared. "This portal seems to be a random portal. Miss Feng, be careful," Ling Xiao reminded her. While they were talking, everyone else had already entered the portal. Feng Xiaoming nodded her head and said, "The reason I'm able to come this far is all thanks to Brother Ling's care. If you need my help, just use this to call me." She gave Ling Xiao a help talisman. Once it was used, it would instantly bring Feng Xiaoming to Ling Xiao's side. "Thank you." Ling Xiao didn't refuse. Feng Xiaoming was a half-step divine core warrior, and she was a great help to him. If he really needed her help, he wouldn't refuse. "Let's go." The 2 of them also stepped through the door. In the next moment, Feng Xiaoming felt like she had landed on solid ground. This was a huge mountain range, and she was currently in a basin. There were all sorts of strange flowers and plants growing in this basin. The air was filled with energy. It was at least 10 times denser than the outside world. Ling Xiao is really good. He can actually tell that this is a random portal. "There's no one around me. I can cultivate here for a while." Feng Xiaoming wasn't in a hurry to search for treasures. In any case, the Ghost Demon Palace did not set a time limit. Besides, this cultivation resource was great for her, and she didn't have to hand it over to any divine core warriors. It would be a waste if she didn't use it. On the other side, Heiyu was pleasantly surprised. "My luck is really good. I actually teleported directly to the front of the ruins." In front of him was an ancient building. Although part of it had already collapsed, it still exuded an ancient and strange aura. Although there was definitely great danger in this place, but at the same time there were also great opportunities. Heiyu was a confident person. Although he was also afraid of death, he cared more about treasures. Therefore, after thinking for a while, he walked into the ruins and began to explore alone. Miracle Mountain had already determined the characteristics of this final stage. That was a fortuitous encounter. As long as you have the ability, you will be able to obtain extremely good things in this stage. He was considered to be extremely lucky as he came directly to the ruins. Feng Xiaoming's luck was not as good. She only came to a cultivation ground with abundant spirit qi. However, Raikage was even more unlucky than her. He was directly teleported to the nest of a group of demonic beasts. Among this group of demonic beasts, there were actually two whose strength was equivalent to that of the zombie emperor. He was no match for them at all. Without even thinking, he directly killed his way out and escaped. Ling Xiao's luck was not too good either. He was directly teleported into a bone-piercing cold pool. It was so cold that he could not help but shiver. However, after releasing the undying bird beast soul and circulating the deviant fire to expel the cold, then he observed his surroundings. He suddenly felt that his luck might not be bad. There was actually not a single demonic beast around this cold pool, and about a mile away, he could hear the roars of demonic beasts. There must be a reason for this. Could it be that there's something in the cold pool? This was the most normal thought. Otherwise, although this cold pool was cold, those ice-type demonic beasts would be eager to join in the fun. Let's go down and take a look. Anyway, even with the Tai Chi eye, it was impossible to see the situation at the bottom of the cold pool. He could only go down and take a look. Thinking of this, he directly jumped down. If others saw this action, they would probably call him a lunatic. Everyone could see that this cold pool was definitely not a good place. It was very likely that he would lose his life after going down. But Ling Xiao was not afraid. Not only could he use the deviant fire to expel the cold, but he also had the emperor-level, black, tortoise divine body. His physical body was incomparably strong. A place that was dangerous for others might not be dangerous for him. From the requirements of this ghost demon palace, he could see some knack for it. Inside, only divine pulse realm martial artists were required to enter. In other words, this was a place for divine pulse realm martial artists to train. Even if it was dangerous, it could not be too crazy. It was definitely still within the tolerance limit of divine pulse realm martial artists. The moment Ling Xiao entered the water, he could feel a terrifying chill enveloping his whole body. Even the deviant fire could not withstand it. Fortunately, he still had the emperor-level black tortoise divine body to resist, so he could still withstand it. If it really didn't work, he still had the 100 transformation divine weapon as the last line of defense. If it didn't work, he could still release the immortal fire. Anyway, he had a lot of trump cards. If he encountered a crisis, he could easily deal with it. But even so, the horror of the cold pool was still beyond Ling Xiao's expectations. He suddenly realized that the thing inside the cold pool might not be the reward of the trial. It might be something used to maintain the fortuitous encounter mountain. In the end, not only did he release the immortal fire, he even used the divine fire. He even released the divine fire in order to take out the thing inside the cold pool. Right when he took out the thing, it was as if the entire fortuitous encounter mountain was shaking. After that, the cold pool was no longer cold, and a huge amount of demon beasts started gathering around it. Ling Xiao was startled. He quickly turned around and ran. What a joke! Even if it was him, he would be surrounded by thousands of half-step divine core demon beasts. Even if he did, he would not be able to survive. He found a safe place. After that, he took out the treasure he just obtained from the cold pool. When he touched it, it was bone-piercing cold, as if it could even freeze his bones. But since he had the divine fire burning in his hand, he wasn't afraid. It looks like an amber, but why does it look like a dragon inside the amber? Ling Xiao had never seen an amber like this. You're in luck. This is called the Amber Azure Dragon, and it contains the soul of the Azure Dragon. Use it to improve your Frost Dragon Beast soul. With it, you should be able to break through to the 9th level of the Divine Core Realm. Also, with the help of this Amber Azure Dragon, your Frost Dragon Beast soul should be able to evolve into a Divine Ice Dragon. Yuan Venerate reminded. I see. Ling Xiao looked around and made sure there was no one around. After that, he unleashed his barrier martial soul and started fusing with the Amber Azure Dragon. About an hour later, a frightening coldness was unleashed from his body. It was not any weaker than the coldness he felt in the cold pool. At the same time, his Frost Dragon Beast soul had successfully evolved into a Divine Ice Dragon Beast soul. Chapter 3651. Not only did the Frost Divine Dragon Beast soul's power increase greatly, he also obtained a second powerful skill. The first was Frost Dragon Breath. The second was Ice Aeon. Ice Aeon and Ice Aeon had similar names, but the situation was completely different. Ice Aeon was a weapon. Ice Aeon was a terrifying wide-range skill. Whether it was power or range, it was 10 times greater than Frost Dragon Breath. If he encountered a large number of enemies, it would be a great killing weapon. Moreover, after fusing with the Amber Azure Dragon, Ling Xiao's Cultivation C energy had also reached 100%. He was not far from the next breakthrough. However, he did not intend to break through so quickly. If he broke through without fighting, his foundation would be unstable. He'd better go and practice first. He began to use the Tai Chi eye to search the surroundings and tried to fly. His flying was different from other martial artists. He did not rely on his true essence, but on his transformed wings. Both the unbounded heavenly rat and the undying bird could fly. It's okay. I can fly at a low altitude, similar to the feather race. Ling Xiao had been reminded of this by the harpy. Even though he had tried in the past, he had failed. It was probably because he was too weak. Now that his cultivation was about to break through to the 8th level of the Divine Pulse Realm, he could finally fly at a low altitude. And people without wings still cannot do it, unless they relied on Dharma treasures and beasts. The so-called low altitude was more than 20 meters in the sky, which was not bad. As he flew, he used the Tai Chi eye to search for the next relic. Since this was the Miracle Mountain, there would definitely be many relics. About 10 minutes later, he found another relic. So he jumped and flew down. This strange place was actually a sect. However, this sect was now facing the predicament of being destroyed. Ling Xiao knew that the people here were all transformed by the Ghost Demon Hall and not real people. However, this situation was definitely not by chance. He believed that there must be something good. It was as if he was an outsider who had stepped into the conflict of others. Both sides seemed to not see him. He could not attack these people. Suddenly, a voice sounded in his mind. Please choose a faction. The attacking side is the Martial Alliance under the rule of the Imperial Court. The defending side is a sect called the Ghost Demon Hall. They need to protect themselves. With the disparity in strength between the two sides, the Ghost Devil Palace is almost certain to be defeated. After hearing this voice, Ling Xiao thought about it carefully. Normally, such missions would be assigned to protect the Ghost Demon Hall. Why was there a choice? Could it be that different choices led to different rewards? After all, the difficulty was different. If he chose Martial League, the difficulty level would be extremely low. Hence, the items he would obtain would probably not be much better. If he chose the Ghost Demon Palace, the difficulty would be extremely high, and the items he would obtain should not be bad. I choose Martial League. Ling Xiao's lips curled into a cold grin. Since he knew that this was just an illusion, there was no need for pity or sympathy. Even if the Ghost Devil Palace was destroyed, it would only be an illusion. Therefore, he didn't care at all. The choice has been made and cannot be changed. If you choose to protect the Ghost Devil Hall, you will receive 3 Violet Sun Pills and a set of 2nd-level Emperor-class soul techniques. If you choose to destroy the Ghost Devil Palace, you will be rewarded with 1,000 high-grade spirit stones. As expected, this reward was exactly what Ling Xiao had in mind. However, so what if this was the rule of the trial grounds? He was here to break this rule. After choosing a side, the battle soon began. The Martial League was much stronger than the Ghost Devil Palace. Destroying the Ghost Devil Palace was a piece of cake. After that, it was time to loot. Basically, everything in the Ghost Devil Palace had been looted. As for the 3 Violet Sun pills and a set of second-level Emperor-class soul techniques, they were all taken by the Martial League's leader. This Martial League's leader was a half-step Divine Core Warrior and 9th-level Water Core Warrior. His strength was on par with the Zombie Emperor. No one dared to provoke him. But Ling Xiao wasn't afraid of him at all. Because he was on the same side, he easily approached the Martial League's leader. Then he suddenly transformed into his Shadow Warrior form. He unleashed the Hell Shadow Strike. He ambushed the Martial League's leader. Although the Martial League's leader reacted quickly, one of his arms was still chopped off by Ling Xiao, and his storage ring was taken away. After that, Ling Xiao sped up into the sky and left. He didn't stop at all. That place was just an ancient ruin. After he left the area of the ruin, those men couldn't chase after him anymore. Ha! This is really something that I didn't put in the effort to obtain. The number of Violet Sun pills has increased to 5, and I even got a set of second-level Emperor-class soul techniques. Although this set of second-level Emperor-class soul techniques could only be cultivated after reaching the 9th level of the Divine Vein Realm, it didn't matter. With Ling Xiao's current cultivation speed, it was only a matter of time before he reached that level. He put away the 2 items, then checked the Martial League's leader's storage ring. There was actually nothing else. It looked like this was really a scenario created by a formation. Even the items were pre-ordered in advance. Shaking his head, Ling Xiao didn't stay any longer. He continued his search. Along the way, he bumped into Feng Xiaoming, who had just come out from cultivating in the mountains. Feng Xiaoming's cultivation had obviously become stronger. Go over there, there's an ancient ruin. Let's try our luck. Ling Xiao believed that since that place was a simulation, he would be able to participate in the trial. Since he got the treasure, Feng Xiaoming should be able to as well. Thank you. Feng Xiaoming thanked Jiang Qin, then she left. Ling Xiao didn't stay any longer, because no one knew what would happen next. It was better to get more good stuff as soon as possible. Another half an hour passed. Ling Xiao came to the gate of an ancient city. In this ancient city, there was a strange aura from beyond the heavens. It was strange, but it was also somewhat familiar. In the ancient city, the buildings were all made of metal. He had never seen such buildings before. Near the ancient city, there were demonic beasts patrolling. However, this wasn't a problem for Ling Xiao. It was just that he didn't want to make a move rashly, so he still went to the ancient city gate in his shadow dancer form. A corner of the city gate was broken, but it was enough for one person to enter easily. Someone came here? Ling Xiao noticed that there were traces of hands touching on the city gate. He used the Tai Chi eye to analyze it. So it's him. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. The result of the Tai Chi eye's analysis was that the person who entered this ancient city was none other than Huiying. With a smile on his face, he walked into the ancient city and set up a spirit formation near the city gate. This was to prevent Huiying from taking the opportunity to slip away. Bang! In front of him was a majestic city, Lord Mansion. A person was suddenly blasted out. He rolled a few times on the ground before getting up. Ling Xiao noticed that the person who got up was Huiying, and the people chasing him were actually some metal puppets. These puppets were much more advanced than the puppets in the 4 major regions. Their entire bodies were perfect. He didn't know what kind of metal they were made of. The most amazing thing was that these puppets didn't consume spirit stones. Chapter 3652. These metal puppets had a special structure in their bodies that could directly absorb spirit energy from the air to fight. It was very similar to human warriors. It's too advanced. This should be a technology that only the Shinji continent has. It's worthy of being a relic from outer space. I guess this thing is also from outer space. Ling Xiao was a little emotional. Don't King be emotional. Hurry up and help. These guys are very difficult to deal with. The Hokage also saw Ling Xiao and couldn't help but roar. Why should I help you? Ling Xiao sarcastically said, It's good enough that I don't kill you. He stood there and watched the show. However, the metal puppet that rushed out only chased the Hokage for about 100 meters, and it seemed to be pulled back by a force. It suddenly disappeared. Ling Xiao guessed that this should be the metal puppet that guarded the city, Lord's mansion. It wouldn't be too far away. If he wanted to go in, he had to defeat these metal puppets. Otherwise, there was really no way. Ling Xiao, I can't go in alone, and you can't go in alone either. There are good things in here. Why don't we forget our hatred for the time being and enter the city, Lord's mansion together? We'll split the things we get 50-50. The Hokage looked at Ling Xiao and said. As he spoke, a ruthless look flashed in his eyes. He thought that Ling Xiao didn't see it. In fact, Ling Xiao saw it clearly. Okay, then let's go in together. Ling Xiao was a bold and skillful person. Anyway, he had already sealed the city gate. Even if the Hokage wanted to escape, he wouldn't be able to escape this time. Moreover, the Hokage obviously came here earlier than him, and obviously knew more about this ancient city. He just wanted to use this guy. Then he would kill him. The Hokage probably had the same idea. Then it would depend on who could out-scheme who. Both of them had ulterior motives. It was just a tacit understanding. They joined forces to enter the city, Lord's mansion. Hokage, how long have you been in this ancient city? Ling Xiao suddenly asked. Not long. I didn't get anything anyway. The Hokage said casually. Ling Xiao sneered in his heart. This was simply a case of revealing 300 taels of silver here. The more you say you didn't get anything, the more likely it is that you got something good. However, it probably wouldn't be as good as what he got. After all, the real treasure of this ancient city hasn't been obtained yet. There were signs of fighting at the entrance of the city, Lord's mansion. This was obviously the place where the Hokage and the metal puppets fought. The metal puppets on the periphery looked relatively weak. Therefore, many of them have been killed by the Hokage. What was truly troublesome was the treasury of the city, Lord's mansion. The most powerful metal puppets were stationed there. The Hokage was also directly killed by such a powerful metal puppet. He had no choice but to invite Ling Xiao in. Otherwise, with his temper, he would never do that even if he was beaten to death. The metal puppets guarding the treasury are very strong. The weakest of them is at least at the 9th level of the divine vein realm. Moreover, the defenses of these metal puppets were too terrifying. My flames can't melt it. I really don't know what material it is made of. Along the way, the Hokage said angrily. Ling Xiao listened to his words, but at the same time he used the Tai Chi eye to observe the surrounding situation. The Hokage deliberately left out some things in his introduction. That was the danger hidden in the dark. There were mechanisms and metal puppets hiding in the dark. If he didn't have the Tai Chi eye, he really couldn't see it. This guy was obviously preparing to scheme against Ling Xiao. However, he didn't know Ling Xiao's ability. The two came to the vicinity of the treasury. Ling Xiao began to observe the situation. This treasure trove was not fake. There was a fascinating aura coming from it. Moreover, the guards were very strict. Brother Ling, your speed is very fast. Why don't you help me lure these metal puppets away, and I'll sneak in to get the treasure. At that time, we'll split it 50-50 according to the agreement. The Hokage smiled and said to Ling Xiao, No problem. Ling Xiao agreed readily. So straightforward. The Hokage was a little surprised. According to the understanding of ordinary people, it was obviously more dangerous to lure the guards, and the other party might escape after taking the treasure. Such a bad thing. Ling Xiao actually agreed directly? Who cares? Since he agreed, I've saved a lot of trouble. The Hokage couldn't figure it out, so he simply didn't think about it. In fact, he had already thought about how to kill Ling Xiao. No matter which option Ling Xiao chose, he would let Ling Xiao die without a burial place. If Ling Xiao chose to lure the guards away, if that was the case, he would deliberately trigger the hidden dangers. He wanted to create more difficulties and send Ling Xiao to his death. If Ling Xiao chose to snatch the treasure, that was even simpler. He wasn't going to lure the guards away. Instead, he was going to lure them straight to Ling Xiao. When the guards and Ling Xiao fought, he would fish in troubled waters. No matter which choice he made, Ling Xiao would definitely die. Of course, this was only his choice. He never thought that Ling Xiao would use the same method to trick him. This kind of person simply had the mentality of an ostrich. There were a total of more than 30 guards near the treasure house. Ling Xiao didn't hesitate and directly took out the profound theory bow. An arrow shot out. It hit one of the metal puppets. This attack quickly attracted the attention of all the metal puppets. However, only 2 metal puppets rushed out, and the rest were still guarding there. Ling Xiao sneered and directly threw out the formation, refining stone. Thunder and lightning fell down, although it didn't cause much damage to these powerful metal puppets. However, it made the metal puppets unable to stay in place. They all began to chase Ling Xiao. Brother Ling is really powerful. I'll have to trouble you. The Hokage smirked and went directly into the treasure house. Ling Xiao directly trapped the puppets in the treasure house into his boundary martial spirit. However, he didn't hunt them, but used his body movement to constantly dodge. While dodging, he was also observing the situation in the treasure house. Under the magical effect of the Tai Chi Eye, everything in the treasure house could be seen at a glance. Perhaps in order not to destroy the things in the treasure house, there were no lethal mechanisms or guards inside. However, there were protective formations. After the Hokage went in, he wanted to take away those treasures, but he failed several times in a row. He didn't understand formations at all, so he couldn't break them at all. Seeing this situation, Ling Xiao sneered. The Hokage's value was almost gone. He released the boundary martial spirit, rushed to the treasure house, and then instantly entered the state of Shadow Warrior. The Hokage, who was trying to break the formation inside, suddenly found that the guards had returned. He was shocked. Ling Xiao, that trash is really useless. He escaped so quickly? Or is he dead? No matter what the situation was, he didn't dare to stay here any longer. He hurriedly rushed out. The guards chased the Hokage away. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, slowly entered the treasure room. The Hokage had already checked the situation here for him. Other than the defensive formation, there shouldn't be anything else. So what he had to do was to break the defensive formation here. This was very simple for him. Chapter 3653. Hua Ying had been tricked by Ling Xiao. He was faced with the difficult situation of being surrounded by those metal guards. Ling Xiao took advantage of this opportunity to enter the treasury. He had already known that this place was blocked by a defensive array formation. However, this array formation wasn't a problem for him. As long as he had enough time, he would definitely be able to break it. The reason he had chosen to lure the guards away was to let Hua Ying enter the treasury. He just wanted to let Hua Ying go through the mechanism for him. Since there was such a person he could use, it would be a waste not to use him. There were many treasures in the treasury. Puppets, weapons, armor, jewelry, jade, paintings, and so on. However, most of them were just ornamental items. Otherwise, they were antiques that couldn't be used. These weren't very useful to martialists. Therefore, Ling Xiao targeted the items that he could use and began to cooperate with the Yuan Venerate to break the defensive array formation. The array formation here was very complicated. In addition to a large defensive array formation, each treasure also had a small defensive array formation. It was obvious that the previous owner of these things cherished them very much. First, he set his sights on a bow. This was also a mysterious bow. However, its grade was much higher than the one he had received from the Purple Mansion Army. It was actually a divine, mysterious bow. There were also 3 arrows in a set. However, these 3 arrows were a little special. One looked like a burning flame, one looked like a frozen frost, and the last one was almost completely transparent. If Ling Xiao hadn't used his Taiji eye, he wouldn't have seen it. The 3 arrows were of the same grade as the mysterious bow. They were all divine, mysterious bow. Master, thank you for your trouble. I'll leave this to you. The Yuan Venerate flew out, nodded, and began to break the array formation. Ling Xiao was about to search for the next item that would be useful to him. Suddenly, a terrifying murderous aura came from outside the door. You actually didn't die? That's really rare. Ling Xiao looked at Huang, who was standing at the door, and joked. Huang was covered in injuries. He was battered and exhausted. It was as if he had been gang-raped by those metal guards. He was full of resentment. If we're going to die, then let's all die together. I can't wait to tear you to shreds. The metal guard had already returned. However, it seemed that there were fewer of them. He should have been killed by the Hokage, but there were still many. In order to kill Ling Xiao, Hokage didn't hesitate to fight with Ling Xiao in the treasure house. Terrifying flames surged wildly. Fire cloud, evil god! The Hokage roared and punched out. He unleashed his most proficient emperor-level martial skill. He actually transformed into the appearance of an evil god. He charged towards Ling Xiao. If you're not dead, then you should cherish your life. But since you've returned, you can die. Ling Xiao has long wanted to kill the Hokage. This was the perfect opportunity. He did not hold back at all. He instantly entered the Yin-Yang Universal Light Tiger Beast Soul transformation. Then Ice Age was unsheathed. They turned into black and white swords. The third move of the 9 transformation Fiend God technique, Heaven Splitting Divine Light, Demon Shadow soars into the heavens, was unleashed. Their attacks exploded at the entrance of the treasure house. The 2 metal guards that pounced over were directly sent flying by the terrifying energy impact. They fell to the ground, flickering with electric sparks and motionless. How can you be so strong? Even if you break through, you're only at the 7th level of the Divine Pulse realm. The moment the 2 attacks collided, the Hokage knew that he had underestimated his opponent. Ling Xiao's combat strength was not inferior to Raikage at all. That terrifying black and white sword light directly shattered his fire cloud evil god. He was also sent flying. He fell heavily to the ground. The metal guard that pounced on him gave him a beating. After a while he was motionless. Ling Xiao didn't care whether he was dead or not. Suddenly, the Frost Divine Dragon Martial Soul was released. Ice Age. A terrifying cold current instantly filled the entire treasure house within a range of about 1,000 meters. All the guards and the Hokage who had fallen to the ground were frozen into ice sculptures. Everything was peaceful, and the most wonderful thing was that the entrance of the treasure house was completely frozen. Unless he came into contact with this freezing effect, someone else could break these ice sculptures. Otherwise, he would definitely be very safe in the treasure house. Disciple, the array formation has been broken. The Yuan Venerate's voice was heard. Ling Xiao was delighted. He hurriedly scurried over and took the Divine Emperor Arcana bow in his hands. The feeling of holding it in his hands was really different. The 3 arrows were also put away by him. These 3 arrows were probably arrows that could be reused. Otherwise, only 3 of them wouldn't be qualified to be called a Divine Emperor Arcana bow. He put this good thing in his storage ring. Ling Xiao stared at the next treasure cabinet. Another 3 purple sun pills. After I get them, I have 8 pills. I'm still 2 pills away from 10. Master, thank you for your trouble. Ling Xiao let the Yuan venerate break the array formation while he searched for things that were useful to him. This would save more time. Rumble. All of a sudden, the ground began to shake. Ling Xiao didn't understand what was going on. He opened his Taiji eye and looked outside. A gigantic hell rock golem had appeared in the ancient city. It was heading towards the mayor's mansion. In less than 10 minutes, it would arrive at the treasure house. Damn it, as expected, I can't get all the fortuitous encounters in this fortuitous encounter mountain. I think after I get a certain number of fortuitous encounters, a new rule will be triggered. It will start spawning divine core hell rock golems and hunt down the cultivators. These rules were all guessed by Ling Xiao, but he didn't think there was any problem with them. He wasn't wrong about what happened in the first and second stage. In the last 10 minutes, all I got was a set of divine emperor weapon bows and arrows, 3 purple sun pills, a defensive talisman that can withstand a full force strike from a divine core warrior, and an exquisite 9th level divine core infernal phoenix beast core. Damn it, there's so many good things, but I have to give them all up. He was no match for a divine core warrior. He only had 10 minutes to choose and take out the next items. Basically, he could only take out 1 item. Disciple, don't be too greedy. You've got more than enough good things. If you die, you'll lose everything. Yuan Venerate reminded him. I know. Ling Xiao understood this. Therefore, even if he was regretful, he had to hurry up and choose the next item. At the same time, a hell rock golem had spawned at the same place as the rest of the cultivators. Even the distance between them was the same as Ling Xiao. It looked like his deduction was right again. Exit of the Ghost Devil Palace. 10 divine core warriors were still waiting at the same place. It had been 3 days since the 10 divine vein geniuses were sent into the Ghost Devil Palace. Lu Haoren, Feng Ying, and Little Wimp had all been eliminated at the beginning. Chapter 3654. Being eliminated basically meant death. Even if one was seriously injured, like Kazakage, it was almost the same as death. The previous record should be 4 days. This is already the morning of the 4th day. It is estimated that the massacre has begun again. I don't know how many people can come out alive this time. The leader of the Brotherhood said coldly. The others also seemed a little nervous. Obviously, the more people alive, the better for them, because then they would get more good things. If they came out dead, then nothing on their bodies would be left behind. According to past experience, only 2 or 3 people could come out alive in the end. There were still 7 people inside. It was already the last day. Perhaps the result would be better than they imagined. But who knows? The closer it was to the end, the greater the danger. As long as the portal at the exit of the Ghost Devil Palace is still lit, it means that there are still people alive inside. Reikage and Hokage should be able to survive to the end. One of them said, the 2 of them are the strongest, smart, and capable, so they shouldn't be robbed of the limelight by others. However, it was as if the heavens were deliberately teasing him. Just as he finished speaking, one of them was thrown out of the cave. Everyone looked over. It turned out to be Hokage, and it was Hokage who was almost on his last breath. Hokage's whole body was not only frustrated, but also seriously frostbitten. Ling Xiao, Ling Xiao, Ling Xiao. He kept repeating this name in his mouth. Calm down. One of them injected true essence to help Hokage dispel the cold, temporarily relieving Hokage's pain. Tell me what's going on, he asked. That Ling Xiao is really despicable and shameless. I almost got the treasure of one of the ruins. But who knew that Ling Xiao actually knew the method of invisibility? While I was not paying attention, he injured me. I was besieged by those guards. It became like this. Hokage gritted his teeth and said, 10 seniors, you must avenge me. Don't worry, we will avenge you. Kazakage, and Hokage were both seated players, and they were carefully cultivated by the 10 of them. They were actually seriously injured by Ling Xiao. Feng Ying was the most miserable. When he came out, he didn't have any treasures on him. This Hokage is not bad, he has a lot of treasures on him, although they are all messy things. It was useless for a divine core warrior. However, there was no problem in exchanging them for high-tier spirit stones. Ghost Devil Palace, Fortuitous Encounter Mountain. The Hell Rock Monster's speed was obviously increasing. With each passing minute, the speed increased. According to Ling Xiao's calculations, the Hell Rock Monster only needed half an hour to reach its maximum speed. In other words, he had to leave this Fortuitous Encounter Mountain and the Ghost Devil Palace in half an hour. Otherwise, even if he didn't die, he would still be severely injured. He looked at the treasury. Ling Xiao gritted his teeth. He didn't continue to search for treasures. After letting the Yuan Venerate return to the Mountain River realm, he began to search for an exit. Only after finding the exit would he be able to solve the problem more calmly. In the beginning, he was still able to maintain his composure, but after 20 minutes he would have to run for his life at nearly 80% of his speed. Fortunately, at the 25th minute mark, he found the location of the exit. Help Talisman. He immediately used the Help Talisman. Of course, he wasn't asking for help. He wanted to help Feng Xiaoming. That was too dangerous. I was so close to being killed. Feng Xiaoming's face was filled with joy. This is the exit. As long as you don't leave the 100-meter radius of the exit, the Hell Rock Monster won't attack. Now, it's up to you whether you want to leave or continue searching for treasures. But I can only save you once. Ling Xiao looked at Feng Xiaoming and said, "What do you plan to do?" Feng Xiaoming was ready to leave. If she died here, it would be too depressing. I still want to try. Try what? Feng Xiaoming was stunned. Try and see if I can get something better. Ling Xiao smiled and ran out of the safe zone. The Hell Rock Monster that was chasing him was already moving at an extremely fast speed. Instead of being entangled by this guy, it's better to just kill it, Ling Xiao thought as he ran. But if it was a head-on battle, he definitely had no chance of winning. But the Hell Rock Monster was still a Hell Rock Monster. It was a mechanical existence that acted according to the rules here. It was brainless. Ling Xiao believed that he could play it to death. He took out the Xuanji Bao. Then he knocked an ice arrow and shot it out. The target was very big. He didn't even need to aim and could easily hit it. The moment the ice arrow hit the Hell Rock Monster, the Hell Rock Monster's body was immediately wrapped in a thick layer of ice. But the Tai Chi Eye told Ling Xiao that this could only last for about a minute. Fortunately, the ice arrow had reappeared in the storage ring. It just showed that it couldn't be used anymore. The Tai Chi Eye analyzed that the cooldown time of the ice arrow was 10 minutes, so it couldn't be used continuously. But 1 minute of freezing time was enough for Ling Xiao to do a lot of things. He took out Ice Age. It turned into black and white swords. He released the innate God-fiend Sword Soul. Let's test this move on you. The fourth style of the 9 transformation technique. God descends, demon suppresses the 3 realms. This was a style that Ling Xiao learned after entering the Ghost Shrine. Its power was 5 times stronger than the third style. It was also his most powerful attack. The power of God and Devil exploded. The innate God-fiend Sword Soul almost merged with the 2 swords. The entire Fortuitous Encounter Mountain was shaking. This heavy blow slammed into the frozen Hell Rock Golem. Even though the Hell Rock Monster was a first-rank divine core warrior, however, he was still sent flying. It rolled on the ground for dozens of times before it finally stopped. Damn it! Ling Xiao furrowed his brows, because the Tai Chi Eye told him something he didn't want to admit. Although the Hell Rock Monster was injured, only one of its ears fell off. The Hell Rock Monster wasn't injured at all. No, I can't attack it directly. Looks like I have to use the environment. Ling Xiao kept running as fast as he could, while thinking about how to deal with the Hell Rock monster. Suddenly, an idea emerged in his mind. When he was on his way to the ancient city, he saw a powerful divine core demon beast. He touched the illusion talisman in his storage ring. Ling Xiao came up with a plan. He started sprinting towards the divine core wolf. The Hell Rock monster was chasing after him. At this point, 28 minutes had passed. The Hell Rock monster was almost catching up with him, but he could already see the giant wolf. After that, he unleashed the illusion talisman and transformed into the Shadow Warrior form. When the Hell Rock monster saw Ling Xiao, it immediately charged towards him. But what surprised it was that the weak human had suddenly become extremely strong. Too bad it didn't have a brain. It couldn't imagine that it was just an illusion. Chapter 36:55. What the Hell Rock Golem saw wasn't Ling Xiao, it was the giant wolf. Far away, Ling Xiao was resting while watching the fight between the two monsters. The giant wolf, more precisely, it was a giant wolf from hell. Although it was only a first divine core warrior, it was still a giant wolf. However, it should be able to help Ling Xiao evolve the three-headed lava hound into a three-headed hellhound. Of course, he wouldn't leave so easily. When two tigers fought, one of them would definitely be injured. No matter which one was injured, he would have a way to kill the other one. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't even dare to think about it. Killing a divine core Hell Rock Golem? Others would say that it was a crazy idea. However, Ling Xiao had put all of this into action. Of course, luckily, he had the illusion talisman and the Tai Chi Eye. He had accurately grasped every single moment, and that was why he was able to achieve such a beautiful moment. The fight between the two monsters didn't last long. In the end, both of them perished together. The Hell Rock Golem was a puppet. It didn't have a demon beast core. But the giant wolf's demon beast core was taken by Ling Xiao on the spot. After that, he left. Ling Xiao didn't want to waste any more time. Who knew when the next Hell Rock Golem would appear? He only had one use of the illusion talisman left. Therefore, if possible, he wanted to return to the ancient city and get 1 or 2 more items. Then he would leave. Feng Xiaomeng, Heiyu, and Chun Qian had arrived at the exit, but it seemed like the safe zone was shrinking. At first, there was still 100 meters, but now there were only 50 meters left. The rules were clear. They couldn't stay in the safe zone for too long. If they did, they would be attacked by the Hell Rock Golems. Not far from the safe zone, there were at least 3 Hell Rock Golems staring at them. When he returned to the ancient city, Ling Xiao chose a target. It was a strange fossil. According to the analysis of the Tai Chi Eye, this fossil was nearly 100,000 years old. And it came from outer space, 100,000 years old, and it still had life force. This shocked Ling Xiao. He was sure that this fossil was something good. Therefore, he set this fossil as his final target. Master, thank you for your trouble. At this moment, many brand new metal guards suddenly appeared in the ancient city. Ling Xiao had no choice but to fight. Even so, he was still the most comfortable one. These metal guards were much easier to deal with than the powerful Hell Rock monsters. The others were not as carefree as him. He was chased by the Hell Rock monster. Zhang Beiyin had been killed by the Hell Rock monster. He didn't know if she was really dead or not. Feng Xiaoming chose to leave through the exit. That was because the range of the safe zone had shrunk to 10 meters. There was no point in staying any longer. Before he left, he could only pray that Ling Xiao could create a miracle. She couldn't help with anything else. Outside the ghost demon palace, Zhang Beiyin was thrown out with serious injuries. No one cared if he was injured or not. They only cared about the treasures on his body. Those divine core warriors made it sound nice. They would only take 70% and the remaining 30%. But when Zhang Beiyin was seriously injured, They actually snatched everything away. Zhang Beiyin didn't dare to say anything. He was worried that if he said anything, he would be killed on the spot by these men. Feng Xiaoming wasn't injured, and she was a divine core warrior. They only took 70% of the treasures. After all, Feng Xiaoming had someone backing him up, and they didn't dare offend him. Lei Ying, He Yu, Qun Qian, and Ling Xiao are still inside. I wonder what kind of surprise these four will bring us. They had obtained some good treasures from Zhang Beiyun and Feng Xiaoming. They were treasures that even divine core warriors could use. That was why they were so happy. Not long after Feng Xiaoming and Zhang Beiyun left, Qun Qian came out. Originally, Qun Qian was here for revenge. But there were too many good treasures in the fortuitous Encounter Mountain. For a moment, he actually threw the matter of revenge to the side. He came out from the exit as well. That was why he was able to escape unscathed. But he still had to hand over 70% of the treasures. To be honest, he didn't want to give up, but what could he do? Facing a divine core warrior, he had no choice but to fight. There are only 3 left, Lei Ying, He Yu, and Ling Xiao. That Ling Xiao, once he comes out, don't ask him anything, just kill him. The Sworn Society's president let out a cold snort. Obviously, Ling Xiao had completely angered these 10 divine core warriors. Also, Ling Xiao didn't have anyone backing him up. That's why they weren't afraid of him at all. These 10 divine core warriors were all waiting for Ling Xiao to show up. But after 10 minutes, the one who came out was a severely wounded Lei Ying. Lei Ying was too greedy. He thought he was strong, but in the end he was killed by the Hell Rock Golem. When he came out, he was severely wounded. Were you set up by that Ling Xiao as well? The Sworn Society's president asked with a cold voice. That's right, I was almost at the exit, but that guy set me up. Lei Ying didn't want to embarrass himself too much. That's why he casually answered. That guy is really capable. He actually set up a few sneak attacks on our men. The Sworn Society's president let out a cold snort, his expression extremely gloomy. Right now, there were only 2 men left in the Ghost Devil Palace. One was He Yu, and the other was Ling Xiao. In the ancient city's treasure vault, the defensive formation was finally broken by a Yuan Venerate. Ling Xiao took out the fossil. The moment it entered his hand, he felt something enter his body. In that instant, his body suddenly stiffened. What the hell? He looked into his body with his Taiji eye. He discovered that there was a blood-red electric current running through his body. The aura of life on the fossil had completely disappeared. You're really lucky, kid. This is an elemental life form, and it's an elemental life form from 100,000 years ago. Although it has a certain level of consciousness, it can't differentiate one from the other. As long as you can have a stronger consciousness than it, you can completely control it and make it yours. That blood-red electric current is a special type of electric current. It can continuously temper your body and increase your cultivation speed. It can also give you the most terrifying attack. Don't worry, try to control it. Your soul force is extremely powerful. You can definitely do it. The Yuan Venerate's voice rang out. Ling Xiao quickly calmed down. He sat down cross-legged. Then he released his soul force and directly grabbed the blood electric current that was running around in his body. Then he began to use the carrot and stick. Through the communication with the blood electric current. Only then did he know that this guy actually wanted to use spirit stones as food. Usually, the higher the spirit stone, the better the effect. Without thinking, he directly took out 10,000 high-grade spirit stones for this little guy to eat. The blood electric current gradually stopped and began to devour the high-grade spirit stones. He hadn't eaten for 100,000 years. He was really starving. After consuming 50,000 high-grade spirit stones from Ling Xiao, he finally stopped eating, and he became obedient. Chapter 3656. It gave Ling Xiao the feeling that this blood-colored electric current was like a part of his body. There should be such an electric current in his body. It could continuously temper his body. At the same time, it could strengthen his cultivation. This feeling is not bad. It seems that the door to the 8th level of the divine vein realm is about to open. Ling Xiao was very excited. The things that he worked so hard to get were indeed not wasted. Continue. He stood up and looked at the rest of the treasure cabinets. However, at this moment, even bigger trouble came. The City Lord Mansion was suddenly penetrated by 2 hell rock monsters. Ling Xiao was almost engulfed by the terrifying attack. He frowned. He killed one and 2 came. Moreover, the speed of these 2 senses had already reached the speed of a 9th level divine vein realm martial artist. Although they were not as fast as him, they were almost there. It will probably take me a long time to subdue the blood-colored lightning here. So, new hell rock monsters have appeared. No, I have to run. Although Ling Xiao still wanted to get more and better things, he knew that escaping was more important. He did not dare to delay and hurriedly entered the cosmic light body and flew out. After flying for about 1 mile, suddenly he saw a person coming in this direction. Who else could it be but Heiyu? There were also 4 hell rock monsters chasing after Heiyu. Ling Xiao. Heiyu obviously saw Ling Xiao and was very surprised. He felt that it was not a problem if he could stay, but he was very surprised that Ling Xiao could stay. Heiyu. Ling Xiao was also a little surprised. According to his judgment, if Lei Ying performed well, he could definitely stay until the end. Damn, don't come over. Both of them were being chased by the hell rock monsters. Naturally, they did not want to stay together, because if they stayed together, it was very likely that they would attract all the hell rock monsters. Ling Xiao flew to the side. Hey, you also flew in the other direction. There was no enmity between the 2 of them. However, when Heiyu was dealing with the zombie emperor in the zombie cave, he did not help, which made Ling Xiao very unhappy. Therefore, he decided to eliminate Heiyu as well. The illusion talisman was cast. The 2 hell rock monsters that had been chasing Ling Xiao suddenly pounced on Heiyu and the other 2 hell rock monsters. The effect of the illusion talisman turned the 2 hell rock monsters and Black Feather into their targets. Naturally, they had to give chase. Ling Xiao, I'm not done with you. Heiyu roared angrily and ran forward with all his might. It had to be said that, as a harpy, this kid was quite fast. He ran all the way to the exit. Then, without stopping, he dashed out. TSK, he didn't die. Ling Xiao pursed his lips. However, when he thought about it, Heiyu had obviously used a special method to kill the hell rock monster. Such a powerful figure was definitely not simple. Since that guy had already been eliminated, he did not care anymore. Now that he was the only one left in Miracle Mountain, he did not know what would happen next. According to his understanding of the trial grounds he had encountered in the past, the person who did the best would definitely be able to obtain additional rewards. He believed that this time would be no exception. Outside the Ghost Demon Palace, it was the 6th day. This had surpassed the record set by the Ghost Demon Palace. All the previous warriors were eliminated on the 4th day. They were either severely injured or dead. Some were even thrown out from the exit. But now it was the 6th day. There were still 2 people inside. This greatly surprised the 10 divine core warriors. At the same time, they were extremely happy. The longer they stayed, the better the rewards they would receive. Swoosh! A figure dashed out from the red portal of the Ghost Demon Palace. Heiyu! Of course, everyone recognized this man. He was the young man who performed the best in the selection. But right now, the young man had an ugly expression on his face. If he had not been tricked by Ling Xiao, he would have received even better rewards. Damn it, did Ling Xiao die in there? In everyone's opinion, there was no way Ling Xiao was better than Heiyu. Since Heiyu had come out, and Ling Xiao still hadn't come out, he must be dead. Don't be ridiculous, didn't you see? Even if he is dead, his corpse will still be thrown out. We didn't even see his corpse. That means he is still alive. Besides, the red portal of the ghost demon palace hasn't closed yet. This means there are still people alive in there. What this man said was exactly what the 10 divine core warriors were thinking. It was just that this kind of thing was really too inconceivable. Ling Xiao was the best among all of them. Ling Xiao is too cunning and despicable. It's because of his despicableness that Ling Xiao is so despicable. Because of his despicable nature, even I was tricked. Hey, you said with a bitter smile, even you were tricked by him. The 10 divine core warriors were startled for a moment. They couldn't believe it. First, it was Little Wimp, then Wind Shadow, then Hua Ying and Lei Ying. Now it was He Yu's turn. Half of the people who were eliminated had actually been tricked by Ling Xiao before. Good kid. I'm starting to like him. Why don't I take him as my disciple? The Sworn Society's president suddenly said with a smile. Before this, he really hated Ling Xiao. But Ling Xiao's performance had gradually made him interested in this young man. This young man's talent and wisdom were greater than all 9 of them combined. A man like this had a limitless future. I'm just worried that he won't be easy to control. One of them said, let's give it a try. If he doesn't want to become our disciple and work for us, then we'll have to kill him. Another man said, all right, let's wait for him to come out. Everyone nodded their heads. After that, they asked for 70% of the treasures from He Yu. They were really surprised because the amount of treasures He Yu obtained was the total amount of treasures obtained by the previous 8 warriors. If this was the case, Ling Xiao, who hadn't come out yet, would definitely obtain more treasures. Within the ghost demon palaces, fortuitous Encounter Mountain. Right after He Yu disappeared, Ling Xiao had once again started his life of running for his life. This time, he really didn't have the time to search for treasures, because the number of Hell Rock golems chasing after him had increased to 10. He could only dash left and right, running away like crazy. While running away, his true origin energy was being consumed at an extremely fast rate. The Heart of Gold was constantly releasing energy from his potential. This caused the door to slowly open for him to break through to the next realm. Why didn't he leave? What a joke! He was sure that there would be an ultimate reward waiting for him. It would be a pity if he just left like this. As long as he could persist, he wouldn't leave. He wasn't an idiot. And in the process of escaping, he also discovered a rather strange thing. The blood-red lightning bolt was only about 30 centimeters long. But while running, it kept releasing electric currents that merged with his muscles and bones. His speed had once again skyrocketed. His speed could still increase, even with the cosmic body. With this speed, he was probably invincible amongst all divine vein warriors. Perhaps even some first divine core warriors couldn't be as fast as him. Chapter 36:57. The blood-red lightning slowly arrived at Ling Xiao's right hand. On his right hand, a lightning pattern was formed. It was hard to tell what it was, but it looked very strange. Above his right hand, there was a frightening energy brewing. He could feel that this energy could still be strengthened. As long as he kept feeding the blood-red lightning with upper-grade soul stones, the strength of this attack would increase. When it reached a certain level, it could even injure a divine core warrior. But upper-grade soul stones were too precious. He had fed this guy 50,000 upper-grade soul stones, and he only had 100,000 left. He had to save them for a critical moment. Run, run, run. On the 8th day, a powerful aura emerged from his body. The door to breaking through had been completely opened. His cultivation had broken through to the 8th level of the divine vein realm. At the same time, he was brought up by a white beam. He disappeared from the fortuitous Encounter Mountain. When Ling Xiao opened his eyes again, he found himself in a strange space. According to his Tai Chi eye, This space should be the center of the ghost demon palace. After thousands of years of searching, after passing through countless planets and worlds, I've finally met you. Kid, congratulations! You're qualified to obtain the best thing in the ghost demon palace. A white figure appeared in front of him. It was a human with an aura similar to the human king. Outside the ghost demon palace. It was the 8th day. Many onlookers had left, but some new people had arrived, because they had all heard an interesting thing. Someone had stayed in the ghost demon palace for 8 days and still hadn't come out. The 10 divine core warriors seemed to be getting impatient as well, but none of them were willing to leave. After all, what if someone came out after they left? They wouldn't be able to get any good things. Therefore, they had no choice but to continue waiting. The 9th day finally arrived, when the first ray of sunlight shone on the bloody battlefield. Finally, a man walked out from the blood-red teleportation formation. On this man's face was a calm smile. I never thought that the most precious thing in the ghost demon palace would be that thing. Ling Xiao lowered his head, still thinking about something. The man with an aura similar to the human king. He had given him the most precious thing. It was a divine pill that belonged to a divine core warrior. The elixir was currently in Ling Xiao's body. It was emitting a frightening aura that only a divine core warrior could possess. Furthermore, this divine pill was a divine pill that had reached the extreme pill realm. Although it was unable to become one with Ling Xiao, it was still able to do so. However, it could cause Ling Xiao's true essence to undergo a qualitative change. This allowed him to possess the quality of a divine core warrior's true yuan when he was still at the divine vein realm. More importantly, this divine pill would be consumed slowly. No matter how much was consumed, it would be absorbed into Ling Xiao's Naiden. To help Ling Xiao condense his Naiden, this allowed Ling Xiao to ignore the pain of condensing his Naiden. After all, he had to know. For most cultivators, the most troublesome thing was to form and improve their inner cores after breaking through to the divine core realm. It was also the most difficult thing. That was why their cultivation was so slow. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, didn't need to care about these things at all. As for the other benefits of this divine pill, he had yet to discover them. However, just these 2 benefits alone were enough to make everyone jealous. Young man, you're finally out. Feng Ying's injuries had completely healed. When he saw Ling Xiao, he immediately roared out in a ferocious manner, "Despicable bastard, prepare to die now!" Hua Ying furiously roared at Ling Xiao as well. If it wasn't for you, I would have gotten more things in the fortuitous mountain. He Yu was extremely angry as well. None of them left, because they were still waiting to settle the score. Even if those 10 divine core warriors didn't kill Ling Xiao, they would still kill him. Of course, if Ling Xiao became one of those 10 divine core warriors' disciple, there was nothing they could do about it. They could only admit that they were unlucky. Looking at these ferocious men, Ling Xiao let out a disdainful grin. "A bunch of losers! How dare you shout in front of me? Idiots!" Not only did he not show any signs of nervousness, in fact, he was extremely calm. "Feng Ying, you said I sneak attacked you and nearly killed you. Fine, since you want to die, I'll let you do it." Ling Xiao let out a grin. With a flash of his body, he turned into a blood-red electric current. In an instant, he arrived in front of Hua Ying. No one could stop him. Even those 10 divine core warriors couldn't stop him. Ling Xiao's current speed had surpassed most first divine core warriors. He grabbed onto Feng Ying's neck. With a grin on his face, he said, "Tell them what you did in there and why you're going to die. If you dare to lie, I'll break your neck immediately." "Junior, stop. We won't hold you responsible. Now, you just need to give us everything you got. Not only will we not kill you, we'll even take you as our disciple," the Sworn Society's president said with a loud voice. "Ha ha ha." Ling Xiao let out a wild laugh. "What are you laughing at? The Sworn Society's president furrowed his brows and asked, I'm laughing at all of you. You're all idiots. Do you really think I'll give you everything? Not to mention all of them. I won't even give you one. Ling Xiao mocked. You're just a bunch of vermin who only know how to bully the weak. This ghost devil palace is not a place you should come to. Presumptuous. The sworn society's president had an ugly expression. The other 9 divine core warriors were shocked as well. This Ling Xiao was crazy. How dare he talk back to them? Amongst the crowd, Feng Xiaoming was worried for Ling Xiao as well. She wanted to thank Ling Xiao. Who knew something like this would happen? As for the rest of the onlookers, they were all startled by Ling Xiao's behavior. They thought Ling Xiao would be in trouble after he came out. He would definitely kneel down and beg for mercy. But the current situation was completely different from what they had imagined. You're the presumptuous one. Not only are you shameless, even your subordinates are shameless to the extreme. That's why I've helped you kill them all. Ling Xiao looked at the sworn society's president and sneered. Don't think you can cover the sky just because you're a divine core warrior. The sky is bigger than you can imagine. You can't cover it. After that, he turned to He Yu, Huaying, Lei Ying, and the others. Don't try to cover up your stupidity and incompetence with excuses. Trash will always be trash. If you're not as good as others, you should admit it. Finding excuses is laughable and pathetic. In fact, he didn't need to explain anything. The history of this world was written by the victors. He had won, and that was enough for him. As for what others would say, who could control them? Their mouths were on other people's bodies. Senior, this guy is too arrogant. Just kill him. Feng Ying struggled and shouted out with a hoarse voice. If you didn't say anything, I almost forgot about you. You're in my hands, and you still dare to be so arrogant? Die. Ling Xiao tightened his grip and broke Feng Ying's neck. After that, a frightening energy was injected into Feng Ying's body. Feng Ying's water core was instantly destroyed. Chapter 3658. Feng Ying was killed. The entire scene fell into a dead silence. A half-step divine core warrior couldn't even withstand a single blow from Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, how dare you kill my brother? I'll make you pay with your life. Where are the ninja gang? Come out. Lei Ying, Huaying, and Feng Ying had been in this bloody battlefield for many years. They gathered all their men and formed the ninja gang. There were more than 100 of them. In order to take revenge, he had gathered all the men from the ninja gang here. Right at this moment, an order was given. More than 100 men stood out. Our ninja gang has a total of 110 men. Besides the 3 of us who are half-step divine core warriors, the rest of us are all 9th level divine vein warriors. You killed Feng Ying. You're provoking the entire ninja gang. If I don't kill you today, I swear I'm not a man. Lei Ying stared at Ling Xiao with a ferocious expression. The rest of the men had surrounded Ling Xiao. The 10 divine core warriors didn't stop Lei Ying. Obviously, Ling Xiao was a troublemaker. He didn't even want to give them any treasures. A man like this, it didn't matter if he was killed. They didn't have to do anything. The men from the ninja gang surrounded Ling Xiao, not giving him any chance to escape. Obviously, you guys still don't understand. In front of a mighty warrior, numbers are just numbers. Other than that, it's meaningless. Ling Xiao stared at the men in front of him with an indifferent expression. Since they wanted to fight, he would accompany them. Since he had just broken through, he needed an exciting fight to stabilize his cultivation. He needed to get used to it. Stop talking nonsense, attack. Don't show any mercy. Kill this guy until he's dead. Lei Ying furiously roared out. He waved his hand, and all the warriors leapt towards Ling Xiao at the same time. There was a puppet master among them. There was also a soul augmentation master. The fighting style of these men had really opened Ling Xiao's eyes. The soul augmentation master was attaching special effects to the weapons of the other men. while he himself stood at the back of the group. Obviously, his own offensive strength wasn't that great, but his support effect was huge. The puppet master controlled powerful puppets. Although his own combat strength was weaker than others, with the help of the puppets. However, it became extremely terrifying. As soon as Rakage gave the order, they released their respective puppet beasts. There was only one puppet beast that was stronger individually. As for the weaker ones, there were many of them. Although the puppet beasts could fight on their own, it was an aimless and chaotic battle. There was no distinction between friend and foe. Therefore, he had to rely on his sole power to control it. He was a powerful puppet master, and at the same time, an expert in the aspect of soul force. There were all kinds of puppets, some of which looked like demonic beasts. There were also some strange things that were clearly just giant swords, but had 4 legs that could attack. The puppet beast was just so magical. Among the demonic beasts, such a situation would never occur. However, puppets didn't have that restriction. At first, Rakage and Hokage didn't attack. Even so, Ling Xiao did not underestimate his opponent. That was more than 109th level Divine Vein Realm experts. It wasn't a joke. He instantly transformed into the Frost Divine Dragon Beast Soul. At the same time, he released the Yin Yang Cosmic Light Tiger, the Hell Shadow Rabbit, and the 9 Snake General. Each of these 3 beast souls could double his combat strength. Of course, the most important thing was that their beast souls were extremely useful at critical moments. The reason why he chose the Frost Divine Dragon Beast Soul as his main beast soul was because, firstly, he wanted to test out the effect of this beast soul transformation. Secondly, this beast soul was extremely suitable for group battles. While transforming, Ling Xiao's body was covered with a ferocious-looking armor. He looked cold and powerful. This caused all the ninja gang members to feel a strong fear in their hearts. Blood-red lightning was circulating within Ling Xiao's body at high speed. Ling Xiao felt that his speed had increased dramatically in an instant. Swoosh! In front of his frightening speed, the ninja gang's encirclement was nothing. How can he be so fast? That's right. Even those who have just broken through to the divine core realm can't have such frightening speed. This guy must have found some great treasure in the Ghost Demon Palace. The 10 divine core warriors looked at Ling Xiao with greedy expressions. They believed that if they could get their hands on a treasure like this, with their own cultivation, they would definitely be more outstanding than this Ling Xiao. Kill him. What are you waiting for? So what if he's fast? Unleash the inescapable net and trap him. Lei Kage roared out. The 100 men unleashed their attacks almost at the same time. The dense attacks interweaved into a spiderweb-like shape in the air. With this, no matter how fast Ling Xiao was, he would never be able to dodge their attacks. Of course, this was just what they thought. What's the point of having so many people? You're just a bunch of mobs. Frost Divine Dragon, freezing dragon breath. The frightening dragon breath was unleashed from Ling Xiao's mouth. Within the cone-shaped area in front of him, about 30 ninja gang warriors were instantly frozen into ice sculptures. Ling Xiao flapped his wings and turned into a beam of light. He destroyed all the ice sculptures. But for the enemies, the nightmare didn't end here. Frost Divine Dragon, Ice Aeon. The frightening coldness instantly spread out from Ling Xiao to more than 1,000 meters away. Almost all the enemies were trapped within the coldness, including the 10 divine core warriors. In an instant, countless ice sculptures appeared on the battlefield. Of course, the Ice Aeon didn't have much of an effect on divine core warriors, but it was still effective. The 10 divine core warriors didn't pay much attention to the coldness, but when the coldness entered their bodies, they realized that their movements had become stiff. Ling Xiao saw the opportunity. He suddenly unleashed a critical strike. The Ice Aeon exploded. It turned into 2 black and white swords. He unleashed the 4th form of the 9 transformation celestial demon skill. God descends, demon suppression of the 3 realms. The strike landed on the Sworn Society's president's body. This man had a huge grudge against Ling Xiao. Of course, Ling Xiao wanted to kill him. When Ling Xiao used the same attack on the Hell Rock Golem, he was only at the 7th level of the Divine Vein Realm. But now he was at the 8th level of the Divine Vein Realm. Of course, the power of the attack was incomparable. Also, he had a divine core in his body. Although the power of the attack wasn't as strong as a Divine Core Warrior's attack, it couldn't be negated by a Divine Core Warrior's True Yuan, because his True Yuan was no different from a Divine Core Warrior's. Bang! A loud and terrifying explosion sounded out. The Sworn Society's president's stiff body was sent flying away. He coughed out a mouthful of blood. The situation was really bad. But Ling Xiao wouldn't give him a chance to fight back. He took out the profound theory Bao and put away the black and white swords. Then he took out an ice arrow and shot it out. The Sworn Society's president, who was about to stand up, was hit by the ice arrow. His body was frozen again, even if it was just for a minute. It was more than enough time for Ling Xiao to send him to his death. Yin Yang Cosmic Tiger, Wrath of the Dark Soul. An attack that could ignore any defense was finally unleashed. Since Ling Xiao had broken through to the next realm, the Wrath of the Dark Soul was now as strong as a first-grade Emperor martial skill. Furthermore, it was a first-grade Emperor martial skill that could ignore any defense. Chapter 3659. The difference between a Divine Vein Warrior and a Divine Core Warrior was the quality of their True Yuan, the strength of their body. After obtaining the Divine Pill given to him by the Ghost Demon Palace's master, the difference between Ling Xiao and a Divine Core Warrior was only the difference in quantity. There was no difference in quality. This was the reason why he was able to severely injure the Sworn Society's master with his 8th level Divine Vein cultivation base. Then he used the Wrath of the Black Soul to kill the Sworn Society's master. But a Divine Core Warrior was indeed a Divine Core Warrior. He was much stronger than anyone could imagine. In the end, Ling Xiao pierced the Sworn Society's master's inner core with a transparent arrow and killed him. The moment the Sworn Society's master died, the entire scene fell into dead silence. Who would have thought that when a man entered the Ghost Demon Palace, he was only a 6th level Divine Vein Warrior? After leaving the Ghost Demon Palace, he had the strength to kill a first Divine Core Warrior. This was unbelievable. While they were still in shock, Ling Xiao's slaughter didn't stop. Fresh blood stimulated his fighting spirit. Killing made him excited. After killing the Sworn Society's master, Jiang Qin took his storage ring. Ling Xiao retracted the Ice Age. With the Black Flame Fiend sword in his hand, he turned into a blood-red electric current and dashed through the crowd. Wherever he went, the number of ninjas kept dwindling. Laying, this guy is too scary, we're no match for him. He can even kill Divine Core Warriors. Let's just run. The Hokage looked at Ling Xiao's killing spree and was so scared that he trembled all over. Let's go. Laying knew what was going on as well. Ling Xiao's combat strength was too frightening, especially that strange Ice Age. It was able to freeze everything and then unleash a powerful attack. There was no way they could be his match. If they didn't run now, when would they? However, how could Ling Xiao allow them to leave at a time like this? Barrier Martial Soul. Jiang Qin covered everyone from the ninja gang with it. He looked at Lei Ying and Hua Ying coldly and said, "Why weren't you afraid when you were slandering me just now? Now you're afraid? Too bad, it's too late. Ling Xiao, don't go too far. How dare you slaughter the Purple Mansion's soldiers like this? Aren't you afraid that the king will blame you?" Raikage was obviously scared. What a joke. This is the bloody battlefield. Do you not know the rules of the bloody battlefield? Or do I not know? Ling Xiao said sarcastically, "All right, I won't talk nonsense with you. The two of you can come at me together. If you want to live, then come and kill me. To be honest, Ling Xiao could only be considered lucky to have been able to kill the Brotherhood's president. Because the Brotherhood Society's president had underestimated his opponent, he was first ambushed by him and then suppressed by him step by step. He didn't even use 10% of his strength. If it was a real fight, it would be extremely difficult for him to defeat a first Divine Core Warrior. It was not impossible, but he would have to use the Sky Tyrant martial spirit. However, it was extremely easy for him to kill a half-step Divine Core Warrior. At this time, he didn't put Reikage and Hokage in his eyes. Let's fight. Reikage tried to get rid of it, but it was unable to do so. Thus, he could only grit his teeth and fight. Raging Thunder Slash. Fire Cloud, Evil God. Reikage and Hokage used all of their true chi. He attacked Ling Xiao with all his might. Ling Xiao just stared at them with an indifferent expression. He held the black flame devil sword in his hand. The fiend god Sword Soul behind his back shone with a black and white light. Sword energy shot up into the sky. Sword intent exploded. The fourth style of the 9 transformation, fiend god skill. God descends to the world. Devil suppresses the 3 realms. Ling Xiao unleashed his attack. A black and white sword beam shot out from the black flame devil sword. The power of God and devil had merged into one. It was a shocking scene. Bang! The fire cloud evil god was shattered. The raging thunder slash was knocked away. After that, a black and a white beam hit Reikage and Hokage, respectively. Both men's throats were penetrated. Blood gushed out from their wounds. Both men had shocked expressions in their eyes. It was as if they couldn't believe that Ling Xiao was so strong. Almost there. I'm basically invincible under the Divine Vein Realm. As for those who have just broken through to the Divine Core Realm, I should be able to fight them. Ling Xiao evaluated his combat strength. Compared to before he entered the Ghost Devil Palace, he was much stronger. This was an incomparably huge improvement. Reikage and Hokage were killed. The ninja gang was annihilated. The Sworn Society's president was killed. This scene was simply too shocking. All the onlookers couldn't believe what they were seeing. That young man who was wearing the violet spirit armor of the Violet Palace Army was only a low-level soldier of the Violet Palace Army. How could his combat strength be so terrifying? I've never seen this guy before. Where is he from? That's right. I've been in the bloody battlefield for more than a dozen years, but I've never heard the name Ling Xiao before. He's a monster. I think he just rose to power recently. If not, with his frightening combat strength, he would have become famous in the bloody battlefield. Do you think he's a new Purple Palace Army soldier? I heard there are a lot of geniuses out there. We haven't been out there for more than a dozen years. TSK, amazing, too amazing. The way the onlookers looked at Ling Xiao had completely changed. Before this, they thought Ling Xiao was courting death by offending the ninja gang, and offending those 10 Divine Core Warriors was the same as courting death. But now they no longer thought that way. With Ling Xiao's frightening combat strength, none of those 10 Divine Core Warriors could kill him. Jiang Qin took away Lei Ying and Hui Ying's storage rings. Together with the storage ring of the Sworn Society's president, Jiang Qin had a total of 200,000 high-ranked soul stones. Because of this, Jiang Qin now had 300,000 high-ranked soul stones. But even so, he still felt it wasn't enough. The blood-red lightning bolt had consumed too many high-ranked soul stones. You guys, do you still want my things? Ling Xiao looked at the remaining 9 Divine Core Warriors and asked with a cold voice. All 9 of them had solemn expressions on their faces. Although Ling Xiao had killed the Sworn Society's president just now, he had taken advantage of his opponent's underestimation of him. However, that terrifying attack was not fake at all. Even if they were hit by it, they would still be injured. I don't believe it. The aura you unleashed just now is only at the 8th level of the Divine Vein Realm. You're much stronger than when you first entered the Ghost Devil Palace. I admit that you're a monster with an incredibly fast cultivation speed. But if that's all you have, don't even think about making us fear you." Finally, a man stood out. This man had a good relationship with the Sworn Society's president. He was also Lei Ying's master in the bloody battlefield. Of course, he didn't want to let Ling Xiao go. "What do you want?" Ling Xiao asked. "What do you want? If you can take a punch from me and survive, we'll let you go," the man said with a cold voice. Ling Xiao knew this guy was trying to test him, but he wasn't someone who could be bullied so easily. "All right, but it's boring to take a punch from you. Let's punch at the same time. Whoever loses, we'll give the winner 100,000 high-ranked soul stones. What do you think?" Ling Xiao didn't care about other treasures, but he really needed high-ranked soul stones right now. "Deal." The man nodded his head. "Come." The first divine core warrior stood out. After that, he circulated his energy, causing a frightening lightning bolt to appear behind him. It was a blue lightning bolt. Chapter 3660. Coincidentally, I know how to play with lightning as well. Why don't we have a competition? Blood-red lightning bolts started flashing on Ling Xiao's body, especially his right hand. It looked like he was wearing a blood-red lightning glove. First level Emperor Realm martial skill, Raging Thunder Slash. This was the martial skill unleashed by the Divine Core Warrior. It was the same as Lei Ying's, but its power was many times stronger. Thunderous roars filled the air. The lightning martial soul behind his back was roaring furiously. Facing a Divine Core Warrior, Ling Xiao dared not underestimate him. The blood-red lightning bolt had swallowed 50,000 upper-grade soul stones. He felt it was still not enough. He continued to let the blood-red lightning bolt devour more soul stones. Another 50,000 upper-grade soul stones were swallowed. Finally, he had reached his limit. The blood-red lightning bolt on his right hand had started roaring. Blood Lightning God. This was the name Ling Xiao gave to his blood-red lightning bolt. Actually, he didn't know what it was, he just knew it was extremely powerful. After swallowing 100,000 upper-grade soul stones, the strength of the blood-red lightning bolt had far surpassed all his attacks. Even he didn't know how powerful this attack was. The blue lightning bolt and the blood-red lightning bolt collided in the air. The violent blue and red lightning bolts exploded in the air. The ground was scorched black. Bang! Suddenly, the Divine Core Warrior was knocked flying away. He coughed out a huge mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale, although he was still able to stand firm. His expression wasn't good. He was knocked back a few hundred meters before he was able to stand firm. As for Ling Xiao, he was only knocked back a few steps. Besides his trembling right hand, everything else was fine. "Looks like you've lost." This blood-colored thunder god's attack power made Ling Xiao very shocked. This attack was almost as powerful as the wrath of the Dark Soul. Even a first Divine Core Warrior would be severely injured by this attack. But the consumption of soul stones was just too terrifying. 100,000 upper-grade soul stones. This was simply an attack with money. If the attack wasn't powerful enough, he wouldn't be able to use it. Besides, after the attack, the blood-red lightning bolt had obviously become much weaker. Ling Xiao hurriedly fed it the high-grade spirit stones. It only recovered after consuming 100,000 high-grade spirit stones. However, he seemed to have grown up a lot. The amount of blood-red lightning in Ling Xiao's body had also increased. The tempering speed had also increased by quite a bit. "I admit defeat." The severely wounded Divine Core Warrior shook his head with a bitter smile. Then he turned around and left. A Divine Core Warrior was seriously injured by a Divine Vein Warrior. This was the first time this had happened, but it happened to him. He had no choice but to believe her. Do you guys want to try it too? But next time I won't be merciful. If anyone dares to attack me again, I'll kill them. Ling Xiao looked at the remaining 8 divine core warriors and said, if the 8 of them joined forces, they would definitely be able to kill Ling Xiao. But the problem was, Ling Xiao wouldn't just stand there and let them kill him. With Ling Xiao's speed, he could easily escape from their pursuit. In the end, the 8 of them would be the ones being hunted down by Ling Xiao. Young hero, you're a great man, we admire you. You can leave now. After giving it some thought, they decided to give up. It wasn't worth it to offend a man like this. Since they couldn't kill him, they couldn't offend him. You're smart. Ling Xiao sneered. Then he turned around and left. Looking at the young man's back, the crowd praised him in their minds. Feng Xiaoming quietly followed him. Brother Ling, you can't go any further. The Nether Realm is right in front of us. After catching up with Ling Xiao, Feng Xiaoming reminded him. Nether Realm? What's that? Ling Xiao was confused. Is it a place where people go after they die? No, it's just that the murderous aura in the Nether Realm is much denser, and only divine core warriors can enter. The scariest thing is, the people there aren't as nice as us. Basically, they'll kill anyone who disagrees with them. There's no reason for them to do so. There are a total of 13 Nether Realms in the bloody battlefield, and 10 of them are located in the Purple Palace Royal City. The other 3 are located near the capital cities of the 3 small kingdoms. The Purple Spirit Kingdom is one of them. Therefore, this Nether Realm is also called the Purple Spirit Nether Realm. Basically, all divine core warriors from the Purple Spirit Kingdom who stayed in the underworld are gathered there. Also, there are divine core demon beasts in the Nether Realm. Divine vein demon beasts can't survive there. Because of this, I advise you, if you haven't broken through to the divine core realm, don't go there. It's too dangerous. Hearing this, Ling Xiao smiled and said, judging from what you're saying, it's simple. There are too many powerful warriors in the Nether Realm, and the murderous aura is too strong. Therefore, if you haven't broken through to the divine core realm, you shouldn't go there, right? That's right. Feng Xiaoming nodded her head and said, even if you go there, I hope you'll stay at the edge of the Nether Realm. The closer you are to the center of the Nether Realm, the stronger the demon beasts there will be. The Purple Spirit King, Ziqinya, was a 5th rank divine core warrior, but even she didn't dare go near the center of the Nether Realm. I heard that there are a few terrifying demon beasts that are as strong as her living there. These demon beasts are so terrifying, won't they attack humans? Ling Xiao asked curiously. Normally they won't, because they need a huge amount of murderous aura to maintain their energy consumption. Basically, they won't leave the center of the Nether Realm. Feng Xiaoming explained. I see. Thank you for reminding me of this, Miss Feng. But I still want to go to the Nether Realm and have a look, because I like the murderous aura. Ling Xiao had the yin-yang cosmic tiger beast soul. The stronger the murderous aura, the more it would help him improve his cultivation. During this period of time, because of the Ghost Devil Palace, his cultivation had been improving at an incredible speed. But now that he had left the Nether Realm, it wouldn't be so fast. He had to find a new source of growth. You really want to go there? Feng Xiaoming asked with a bitter smile. Yes, I have to go. Why not? With a smile on his face, Ling Xiao said, we'll meet again in the future. I hope that when we meet again, both of us will have broken through to the divine core realm. After saying that, Ling Xiao transformed into the peerless heavenly mouse beast soul. Then he flapped his wings and flew into the distance. Right now, he was able to fly at a low altitude. This was because he had an extra pair of wings. Looking at Ling Xiao's disappearing back, Feng Xiaoming was stunned. She was both surprised and envious at the same time. Forget it, he should be fine. I've seen what he can do in the Ghost Devil Palace. It's time for me to work harder. I've gained a lot this time, and I shouldn't be too far away from breaking through to the divine core realm. Feng Xiaoming left as well. She was planning to return to her stronghold. In this bloody battlefield, there were many families that had lived here for dozens or even hundreds of years. The Feng family was one of them. Of course, Ling Xiao didn't know about Feng Xiaoming's situation. Right now, he only cared about the purple spirit nether realm. Finally, he no longer had to be afraid of those warriors who had just broken through to the divine core realm. The bloody battlefield was really his blessed land. If he hadn't entered the bloody battlefield with his cultivation speed, there was no way he could have broken through so quickly. Chapter 3661. With the ability to fly, it was much faster to travel. Also, the Violet Spirit Underworld was located near the Violet Spirit capital of the bloody battlefield. It was easy to find. Ling Xiao had the Tai Chi Eye, so he wouldn't get lost. In order to reach the Violet Spirit Underworld as soon as possible, he tried his best to avoid any fights along the way. Currently, any demon beasts below the divine core realm could no longer pique his interest. After all, even a half-step divine core demon beast could be killed with just 2 or 3 strikes from him. The help it provided to his cultivation was almost negligible. Right now, it had only been half a month since he entered the bloody battlefield. In just half a month's time, he had achieved such a huge improvement. The cultivation that was extremely difficult in the eyes of others was as easy as eating and drinking for him. As long as he dared to fight, he would definitely break through. Of course, he didn't waste any time on his journey. First, he upgraded the Undying Bird Beast Soul to the Undying Infernal Bird Beast Soul. He also obtained a new skill, Fiery Rebirth. The cooldown time for this skill was 1 day. In other words, he could use it once a day. If he was killed, he would be reborn in the flames of hell. It wouldn't trigger the 9-death reincarnation skill, and it wouldn't conflict with the life rewind skill. With this new skill, Ling Xiao had an extra life. This was really too precious. The ability to revive after death was something that others couldn't get even if they begged for it. But now Jiang Qin had too. After that, he upgraded the Infernal Cerberus Beast Soul to the Infernal Cerberus Beast Soul. Aside from the Scorching Hell's power being greatly increased, he also obtained a new skill called Gates of Hell. Ling Xiao had tried this skill before. It could open the gates of hell and release the demon beasts guarded by the Infernal Cerberus to fight or defend. It was a summoning skill. If he encountered a powerful enemy, he could use it to create a chance for him to escape. If he encountered someone who didn't know what was good for him, he didn't even need to fight. With the demon beasts in the gates of hell, he could easily kill them. While traveling, Jiang Qin was cultivating. At a certain moment, Ling Xiao suddenly felt a frightening force approaching him. His flying altitude dropped once again. There were still 20 meters left, but now he could only fly about 10 meters. The further he went, the greater the pressure, and the lower he flew. Looks like we're in the nether realm. Ling Xiao furrowed his brows and immediately became vigilant. This place was actually more than 5 kilometers away from the nether realm. They were still very far apart. However, the pressure was actually able to spread over. It was enough to show how terrifying the nether realm was. However, the greater the pressure, the better it was for cultivation. Some martial artists created special cultivation rooms for themselves. The pressure inside was 10 times or even 100 times stronger than outside. Only in this way would one's ability become extremely terrifying. Following this terrifying pressure, it was even more impossible for Ling Xiao to get lost. Disciple, did you notice it? Yuan Venerate suddenly flew out with a frown. There's the aura of a formation, and it's a sealing formation. Ling Xiao replied, looks like you've noticed it too. The Yuan Venerate said, this sealing array formation is extremely powerful and definitely not something an ordinary person can set up. I suspect that the nether realm itself is a place formed by a huge formation. He sealed the baleful aura and the demonic beast. This bloody battlefield is really interesting. Yes, the air is filled with the aura of a formation. It seems like the power of incantations is jumping around. Ling Xiao nodded. In short, be careful. Try to restrain your aura and walk forward, although it will be a little slow. However, there are only 5 kilometers left. Given your walking speed, it will only take about half a day or so. Yuan Venerate said. All right. Ling Xiao was also feeling a lot of pressure as he was flying now. It would be really troublesome if he encountered danger. Yuan Venerate was more experienced than him, so listening to Yuan Venerate would definitely not be wrong. He took a deep breath as he thought about this. Then he landed on the ground and started to feel weak. His aura was much weaker than before and was not easy to detect. However, what exactly was being suppressed in the nether realm? To be honest, he was really very curious. If it was possible, he had to find an opportunity to take a look. After walking for about an hour, Ling Xiao suddenly smelled a familiar scent. It was Purple Dragon. He had been with Purple Dragon for a long time, so he could naturally tell what Purple Dragon's aura was. However, judging from Purple Dragon's aura, it was obvious that Purple Dragon was injured. His aura was constantly weakening. Over there. He increased his speed and chased after Purple Dragon. Along the way, he transformed into the Hell Shadow Rabbit. Then he transformed into a Shadow Warrior. The person who could injure Purple Dragon was at least a 2nd-level Divine Core Warrior. He could not underestimate his enemy. Therefore, using the Shadow Warrior form to approach was the best choice. It's that masked man from before. He was getting closer. It was only about 700 meters away. Ling Xiao opened his Tai Chi eye and looked over. The person who was fighting Purple Dragon was actually the assassin he saw in Purple Spirit Capital. He was the one who tried to assassinate Purple Dragon, but Ling Xiao had ruined his plan. Today he had appeared once again. He didn't expect these people to be so persistent. They had actually chased him all the way here, looking at the situation around him. The 2 of them had probably been fighting here for a few days and nights. Purple Dragon was much stronger than when he was in Purple Spirit Capital. Therefore, it wouldn't be easy for his opponent to kill him in a short period of time. But after a few days of intense fighting, his opponent had gained the upper hand and was gradually injuring Purple Dragon. Right now, Purple Dragon had reached a critical moment of life and death. Purple Dragon was only a 1st-level Divine Core Warrior, a Core Formation Warrior. But his opponent was a 2nd-level Divine Core Warrior, an Iron Core Warrior. The difference between their basic combat strength was more than 100 times. Even though Purple Dragon was extremely talented and had broken through to the perfect Core Formation realm, he had narrowed the gap between his combat strength and his opponent's. But he was still no match for his opponent. There wasn't a single wound on his opponent's body, but Purple Dragon's body was covered with wounds. I came at the right time. If I came a day later, I might not be able to see Purple Dragon again. Ling Xiao sighed. The Iron Core Warrior coldly harumphed. Young Master Purple Dragon, you were saved last time. This time, you won't be able to escape even if you have wings. Who are you? Why are you forcing me to do this? You came here from the outside, and you still won't let me go? What did I do to offend you? Purple Dragon didn't understand. Although he had offended some people before, they were just small problems. But he couldn't think of anyone who could offend this man and want to kill him. Ha ha ha. Young Master Purple Dragon, do you really think I'll tell you? I'm a very cautious person. Before I kill you, I won't tell you the truth. Of course, if you die, I'll burn a letter for you, telling you my true identity. As for whether you can see it or not, that's none of my business. The man let out a hearty laugh, and his attacks became even fiercer. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.